Let's do this.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Happy Monday. What a weekend it was. Get up to anything fun, Luke?
No. Lots of drinking coffee. Went down to the coast. It was lovely.
You had a party last night, you went to a concert?
I did, yeah. I did go to a concert last night in Wembley Stadium. It was great.
Got the call up?
Lots of things going up. You did actually get the call up. Lots of things going on.
Declined.
You're locked in. In the news this weekend as well. I was on the FT app a scary amount of times.
There's a lot to cover. We have
a lot of news.
Maths has been solved.
Oh man, that was great to be on the timeline. All of those like existential crises from mathematicians and technical folk on the timeline. It's actually very saddening to see, I have to say.
Well, there are two opposing arguments. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? We can dig into it. News for the day, we're going to OpenAI solves maths. Potentially, UK chips are back on the map. The EU AI Act has had its first rollout.
Let's go.
Truth Social, selling alpha. You can take your own opinion on what this means. The general consensus is that it is corruption. And then we've also got NIK joining. He is our first anonymous guest on the new show. He'll be joining us live to talk about, are we in the singularity? What should we be worried about? What should we be happy with OpenAI solving maths? And also a few bits and pieces on the AI Act.
Now, there's been some weirdness whether we're in the singularity or not, but I feel like it's now like with this that has just happened. I think OpenAI posted it just before the weekend on Friday. I'd say that's pretty convincingly singularity level of intelligence.
Personally. I would agree. Before we get into the day, let me pull up the Outlook's agenda and we can just go through the lineup for today. We've got Peter Gostev. He's the AI capability lead at Arena. He's going to be joining us at 12:15, actually, so pretty early, earlier than we usually have guests on, but we're going to be talking about the current benchmarks. What should we think about these new mathematical breakthroughs? Qwen just released an incredibly capable new model, the Qwen 3.8 Max. That was only hours ago. It's their most capable model to date. We'll ask me a little bit about that. We've got Metz, co-founder at Seldon. He's joining us at 1:30. He was in the house NSF that, I think, one of the first to order the Tau robotics, the $30 humanoid cleaning services.
He was saying all of the tweets, all of the memes of this robot were all his flat, and he was like, "This is so weird that it's like, it's my flat."
Well, that was his flatmate.
Keeps getting memed.
But Finn is in that house. He lives in that house, and so the whole timeline is seen in his living room, which is great. We've got Keval, Desai coming on after that. A few things to jump into. Why we're in an AI boom, not an AI bust. What does today's AI cycle look like compared to early internet? Why it's not too late to build or invest in AI, and a bunch of other great topics. And as I say, we've got NIK tuning in anonymously. The non-technical member of technical staff is coming in. EU AI Act, AI singularity, solving maths, what happens going forward. And then we've got the man himself. He's back. It's Kanishka Narayan, the Minister of State, Minister for Artificial Intelligence at the UK government. It's always good to see Kanishka and hang out with him.
Round three of him in the studio.
Yeah,
not in the studio, live, calling into the studio.
So that's going to be a fun one to chat with him. Let's just jump straight into the news straight away. We can pull up OpenAI's Astra model that they released the other day. This was via a blog post. People were saying they've sneakily thrown this in. 10 advances in mathematics and theoretical computer science. The article goes on to say, well, off the back of this, OpenAI are saying we have solved 10 of the hardest mathematical and theoretical computer science problems ever to be known. They've released a blog breakdowning how they did this, why they did this, what are the problems, what does this look like internally. This hit the timeline via the blog. It wasn't announced as news and has then been picked up by...
Do you think that was deliberate?
The timeline. I don't know. There must have been some strategic reason for it.
Because obviously it's going to be controversial. So, I mean, OpenAI, famously isn't shy of controversy. But this is, hey, we're doing a really, really good thing. But it's actually stopping a lot of people from, their life's work, which is...
Yeah, but again, I'm very much in the camp of, this is just the way things advance.
Yeah.
It's a natural step.
Yeah,
in
I agree.
progression. The article basically kicks off by saying, we want to empower scientists and mathematicians with tools that accelerate discovery. That is why we recently announced ChatGPT for academic researchers, an initiative providing 100,000 scientists and mathematicians with free access to our best ChatGPT models. We also continue to evaluate our models on open research problems during development. And they go into basically list out a bunch of these different problems that they've essentially solved. So they say, in May, we shared an AI-generated disproof of the Erdos unit distance conjecture discovered while evaluating an unreleased model. This is the one that they're referring to. This work has been already inspired further developments in mathematics and theoretical computer science. Today, we are sharing a selection of 10 results, each of which resolves or makes substantial progress on a long-standing open problem. These problems span high-dimensional geometry, coding theory, arithmetic circuit complexity, group theory, operator algebras, quantum complexity, lattice cryptography, and external combinatorics. All of these problems are of substantial interest to their respective mathematical communities, and several are of broad interest across mathematics as a whole. So they come and they list out the results, what happened. We provide new results with the following problems. The results were achieved by an internal version of Astra that is not released yet. That is their internal model that they're using. They say it's our next major model. The total number of tokens needed to find solutions to these problems. Now, this blew me away. This was absolutely astonishing.
Yeah.
It would cost roughly $2,000 at Sol API rates. $2,000.
Yeah. Cheapest model.
To
is it their cheapest model?
I don't think it's their cheapest model, but it's $2,000 to basically solve 10 of math's hardest problems. And you can imagine why that the timeline would burst out and erupt into discourse in general, not necessarily negative. There were both sides negative and positive as to why this could be great or this could be saddening. It seems to be the main sort of two contrasting arguments are progression first. This is a natural step of what pushing the frontier forward looks like. There will be some people that may find themselves, a small element of their personal hobbies, their personal feelings of connection of their thing that they've dedicated a lot of their life to, is kind of being solved by AI. So naturally, one can understand why a human would react negatively to that or have some sort of existential crisis. And then the other one is that the negative side of it is that feeling of, well, okay, what now?
Yeah.
I've dedicated my life to this, maybe 40 to 50 years of research in the field of mathematics, and all of a sudden, these problems for 40 to 50 years are just getting solved by, 10 of these problems are getting solved by, the equivalent value of $2,000. So the timeline was in a bit of a disarray. We had
and OpenAI do mention, they do address this. If you go down to the bottom of the article, it says responsibility to the mathematical community. The emergence of systems capable of contributing to mathematical research raises questions that cannot be answered by a technology company alone. There are many views as to the role of AI in mathematics, and we have deep respect and understanding for those concerns with its impact, including the signers of the Leiden Declaration on AI and Mathematics. We believe attribution should honestly reflect how a result was produced. Claiming human authorship for a proof generated entirely by an AI system would misrepresent both the system's contribution and the nature of genuine human intellectual work. We helped prepare the manuscripts and formalize the proofs in Lean, and we take responsibility for their correctness while the mathematical arguments themselves were generated by our system. We hope the mathematical community will engage deeply with these results, place them in context, and bring the ideas behind them to life through new research and discovery. As AI systems evolve into more sophisticated research collaborators, ensuring widespread access is fundamental to supporting scientists and mathematicians as they navigate and define the future of their disciplines during the transformative era. So I think it's like a nice nod and say hey, we're working together on this, and there's an obvious, it's very easy for them to almost push mathematicians aside almost when models get so good, but there's a kind of, we're actively bringing the mathematical community within this work, and they will be highly respected for it. And everything else involved. So it's good that there is a genuine active kind of, hey, we know exactly what we're about to do here, and what we've done, but we're bringing actively bringing the community along with us on that journey.
My first thought is who gets the credit? Is it OpenAI? Is it the individual that was working with, Atlas to solve this theory?
Yeah.
Is it, how, in the past it would be like this individual researcher or this team of researchers have solved this problem.
Yeah.
Here we are presenting it. You get awarded, like a Fields Medal or like a Nobel Prize for doing so.
Sure.
But this time,
is
it Sam Altman?
Who gets the Nobel
Does
Prize?
Sam Altman get the Fields Medal? Does he?
I guess by process of elimination.
Does it go to everyone at OpenAI?
Process of
The GTM team shouldn't get one, surely. they get one.
Do the TBPN guys get a Nobel Prize?
Maybe they will. But that's the first thing that came into my head is just like who owns the solve? Who owns the press associated with that? Who owns the pride and the reward of solving such an integrally such a hard problem? But this is, the fact that they've gone to lengths to put this responsibility to the mathematical community. Obviously, the AI community and the mathematical community are inherently connected.
Yeah.
This is, I think we're seeing the early signs or the early hints of what we saw when Claude code was getting a lot better as we move through that sort of frontier of, this is really great, AI can help me code, to, wow, this is really powerful, AI is writing most of my code, to like, oh wow, AI is doing all of my coding, and I'm just sat here at the prompting.
And even, so it was like a 4-stage process, right? The two that you just mentioned, then it was like, AI is doing all the coding and I'm doing the checking, and I'm making sure that, it's correct and it's doing what it needs to do. Then final almost stage where it's writing the code and then also checking the code, and you have agents, you can have, I don't know, countless, say 15 agents all working on like different problems, and double checking the code that the kind of, the model at the top is working on. And so other than prompt engineering, that's basically all you're doing. And that was an existential crisis within the kind of the coding community for sure.
And we saw this there was a viral post at the time, and I actually can't remember who put it up, but we saw this play out in real time as that transition was happening.
Yeah.
I remember seeing a viral post of a guy who was not sort of taking it negatively or positively. It was kind of like a neutral view, but was basically describing the way in which he has worked in the past and the way he works currently, saying that like it's no longer, he doesn't get the hits that he used to get from solving a hard problem, because now the problem, no matter how hard it is, or in this context like coding, it just does it for him. So that dopamine hit associated with like, you run an ultramarathon, and you finish the ultramarathon, like really hard thing to do.
Hit.
You finish it, you're like, I'm the man, I feel amazing, right?
Sure.
But if you just get in a car and travel that distance, and you get there, you travel the same distance, but via help from machinery or technology, it's not the same.
No,
right?
okay. So, you've got 3 elements now, right? It's like either run the ultramarathon, drive a car to get to the end of the ultramarathon, sit in full self-driving in a Tesla, which is possible.
Step 4, get a humanoid robot to just run it for you.
Yeah.
So like, that we're removing that element,
like operated.
Well, that's yeah. But like we're removing that element of work and like the dopamine rewards associated with completing that hard task. And we watched this guy, like many of his points were around the fact like I feel meaningless in a way, like, and he's not saying it's a bad thing. He's taking a very neutral opinion on the whole thing, but he's essentially positioned in a way which like all of his life's work is now amalgamated to in that 6-month or 1-year development time.
Well, we were talking about this morning, sorry to cut you off, but we were talking about this morning, is like if you hit like maybe 40 and you're a mathematician, you're kind of only just kind of getting into your prime, and then suddenly a model just kind of like ticks off 10 boxes that were like part of your career. That's pretty tough.
Yeah. And it'll be fascinating to see how this plays out just from like a psychological perspective. I think this is we had our first clue with Claude. We watched the reactions to most developers. It was shock at first, and then acceptance, and then they managed to work with it. And people ended up 100xing, 1000xing their skill set, right? So it was actually a really great thing. I think that was a hint to what we're seeing. We're now seeing it in a more raw form for a new industry.
And the models are better as well now.
And the models are even
So
better
it's going to
now.
be harsher.
Yeah.
And less. I mean, it wasn't slow previously with the coding community, but it will be quicker and harsher.
Yeah.
It will be very interesting. I think we have our first guest on. We're going to talk to a bunch of our guests about this problem. But before we do that, Polymarket, the world's largest prediction market. Stay informed and profit from your knowledge. Go to polymarket.com. We can have our first guest on. Peter is joining us in the studio, I believe.
And I think this is fascinating. It'll be good to get Peter's take. Peter covers a bunch of different sort of like breakthrough benchmarking stuff. That's what Arena does.
Yeah.
He's very much in the field. And he actually had a really funny tweet, which we reposted for his guest announcement. There was, I got fired today. Like, I was the guy who wasn't solving maths problems.
Nice.
Which was,
and now they're all being solved.
Brilliant. Anyway, we can bring Peter in. We can bring him up onto the screen. Peter,
it's
so
this.
Good to see you again, sir. Last time was at the AI Engineer Summit, and this time we're coming to you live from our new studio. How are you?
I'm very good, very excited. Definitely happy to share these exciting times with you guys. And I want to say, like, I am not a mathematician. Like, the stuff that is being discovered, like, I don't want to position myself as a kind of an expert in this. It's more of a kind of, fun club. We're cheering from the sides and just observing how things are progressing. So yeah, excited to cover this with you guys.
Yeah. We're on the sidelines too with you, so don't worry.
In case it wasn't clear, we are also not mathematicians. But we did see your tweet saying that you got fired the other day. You were the guy who was not solving maths problems, which is beautiful. But Peter, first question is, what type of progression are we seeing here in model capability? What does it mean now for the AI community to see 10 of these, some of the most complex mathematical problems of all time get solved via, a $2,000 API spend here? Like, that to me, I didn't know why this isn't national news. We were trying to find news articles around it, and the only thing we could find was the OpenAI's blog post.
Yeah, no, on the news point, you're absolutely right. Like, it's one of those things that is just blowing up Twitter, and everyone in our community is super excited, and then no one cares. So it's a kind of hard to, I think we need to check our bubble and see, whether we are, assessing things correctly. But I think we are, I think it does matter, right? It's one of those things that we have seen LLMs not being able to add two numbers together to get to that kind of progress where real mathematicians are impressed. And I think that's what I'm looking for, is that are real mathematicians impressed? It's easy to impress me and say, oh, there was some proof.
Yeah.
But I think the important part is the few important elements. First one is, does it actually solve it properly? We've seen some examples before where it sort of found the paper that was relevant, and it's like, okay, it is useful, but that's not quite what we mean, right? It's like we knew it could search. I think that's the first thing, and the answer for these ones seems to be yes. The second one is it a problem that's worth solving? Like, do people actually care about this? And we've seen, again, I think there are some conjectures and things. I mean, opinions kind of mixed whether these things matter, but it does look like at least a portion of these mathematicians have thought about for ages, and they couldn't solve them. So that feels like something matters. And I think for me, another criteria is that, like, you can see a scenario where maybe there's some problems that people kind of maybe it doesn't matter, maybe no one really spent time on it, and then solved it. It's like, okay, but like, was this actually interesting? But now these ones looks like, I mean, I saw a bunch of mathematicians who said, oh yeah, I've been looking at this for like several years and like on and off, and I couldn't solve it. So it's definitely exciting from that perspective. It looks like all the signs that it's real and it's interesting.
Yeah. And from your perspective over Arena, this for me seems like a jump, not in, well, obviously in model capabilities, but it's more the reception from the real world. Like it's actually doing things, if that makes sense. Like we're actually seeing this value accrued in, solving these incredibly difficult problems. What does this say about the pace of advancement right now? Obviously, we had the Pacing the Frontier blog the other day. Yes, everyone signed it, but it doesn't seem like the frontier is pacing. It seems like it's accelerating. Like, what are you guys at Arena seeing in terms of how fast these benchmarks are increasing?
Yeah, and stepping back from maths kind of more generally, the benchmarks have been just blowing up. We've seen we've got a Code Arena, for example, where we measure front-end capabilities. And for a while, it was kind of, Anthropic models kind of here and there.
Yeah.
And then it looks like one after another. And by the way, open source Chinese models kind of going up and up and up. And just the scores have exploded there. So there are definitely a few capabilities that we can point to where things have really shifted. Now, it's always, I think one thing that we need to be conscious of, people who sit in the bubble and spend all of our time in the bubble, is to try to calibrate ourselves, like how much does that matter? Because it could be, for example, with the front-end development task, maybe with maths as well, is that it's just the matter of someone starting to pay attention properly, maybe they got some data in, maybe they trained up a bit on that, and it matters a lot for that area, but we shouldn't extrapolate. Like it's potentially true. But I think it's also kind of true in human world, right? If you look at human progress over the last, I don't know, couple of 100 years, we've done amazing progress with, manufactured iPhones.
Yeah.
That was just not possible 30 years ago. And mathematics to me seems so advanced, far beyond what we can actually apply. But if you look at, I don't know, education, are children learning, I don't know, English better than 100 years ago? I mean, maybe like twice as good if you're being generous. Maybe it's worse, who knows? So it's also jagged. So I think there's no reason for us not to expect jaggedness from AI development as well.
That's an interesting point because there has been, around this kind of pacing conversation, there's been a bunch of discourse around like diffusion into things like education or kind of, more blue collar work and everything else, like actually diffusing into, not, as you're saying, like our bubble that we're in, out into the world. How do you feel like, like the work of this conversation around like open weight models and closed weight models and kind of like making them more like accessible and cheaper, is that a way for diffusion to kind of move forward into like these normal areas, do you think? Or is it, have we still got a long way to go there? You mentioned obviously education. I agree, probably maybe 2x, maybe better than 100 years ago.
Yeah, it's very hard to tell what the diffusion is going to look like. And the reason for that is that it's very hard to know what the bottlenecks really are. So for example, it could be, I don't know, education. We had the wave of kind of online education, right? That didn't seem to make almost any difference, even though you think like, all of your knowledge is at your fingertips and there's like good lectures. The best maybe lecturers give lectures and they're very well designed and so on. And that probably made some difference on the margin, but on the whole didn't really change education. And maybe the bottleneck is, there needs to be a human teacher who like makes the students read, like for example.
Yeah.
So it's kind of similar. If you, I don't know, work in a bank in compliance, is it that important that, suddenly your AI can do like 95% of the job for you? Maybe doesn't actually shift anything all that much. And I think the problem is that I think a lot of people in AI, they kind of work for tech companies, they work for the best companies, they're also technical people. So their mindset is very much, there's like technology, we can automate things. I've automated so many things before. So it's like, it's right there.
Yeah.
And then you speak to anyone who's worked in like real world with real people, not in tech companies. Like people manage their stuff in like Google Forms and Excel sheets. That's like at best. And emails. So they sit so far away from that automation frontier. Yeah. So my personal sense is that like whatever exactly happens with the models, whether it's like open source, very cheap, closed source, it's probably not going to make as much difference as people think, just because that sort of stuff, like there's so much friction in the real world that I think a lot of us don't appreciate who kind of worked in tech companies before.
Yeah, I guess you could probably pull like, how did Google diffuse Google Sheets and Docs into companies, or like how did back in the day Microsoft diffuse like Excel into what was that transition like? And are they paths that AI automation companies or whatever it is to like go and use that, go and figure out how they did it back then and figure it out, because human nature hasn't changed really, has it? So
I'd imagine there's probably like a AI a press war to go through that as well, right? People are a little bit scared of AI. What do you think, Peter?
Well, I'll give you one example. It's Benedict Evans, who's a great analyst in that space, who's like much more calibrated to the real world. And one thing he's saying is that you need to look at other examples, such as, for example, the cloud workloads.
Yeah.
And what he's saying there is that I think he said some like 30% of the compute workloads are in the cloud. So like we had 15 years of cloud adoption when it was like a no-brainer for good companies like with money to adopt cloud, and they still haven't. And they're like long programs to adopt cloud. I mean, I worked in banks before. It's like literally a decade-long programs to move to the cloud. And when they move, it doesn't mean they're like tech companies now. They probably have all of this mess just in another location. So it is so much harder than I think many of us realize, kind of looking at model capabilities.
Yeah.
So I think there's a kind of natural pacing, I think, that we'll see evolve.
Yeah. And then when they are diffused 10 years later, they're 20 years behind.
It will be in the singularity by then.
Yeah.
Connected to what we were just discussing now, literally, I think about 6 or 7 hours ago, we saw Qwen drop 3.8 max. They said it was our most capable model to date. I had a look at the benchmark scores. It was incredibly impressive. What are we seeing here? What is this sort of open source revolution that's kind of, I think the last 2 or 3 months, coming from someone who doesn't sit, within the frontier, I'm seeing it outside looking in, but it feels like, the last 3 months have just gone crazy.
Yeah, and so we at Arena did have some benchmarks come out on day one, which is always nice. From memory, I think they're second on Text Arena. So this is including Opus 5 and Fable and so on. And I think from memory, they're sort of about top 3, top 4 on the front end code Arena. But the important part is they're within that tier, the top tier. And there are a few things that are interesting, I think. One is that we saw a shift for Chinese models to go from about 1 trillion parameters, which I think was DeepSeek, it was JLM, it was Kimi, they were kind of that sort of size. They went up to 2.8 to 2.4 trillion parameters. And so I think Qwen is 2.4, and Kimi was 2.8, I think. And we'll see kind of what DeepSeek responds, but there seems to be some big shift. I don't know, but my guess is there must be something to do with hardware, because why else would they be making this jump? It could be that they just saw that, there's Fable now, so there's no point kind of trying to optimize around 1 trillion, possible. But my sense is that they just have like better hardware to serve or to train the models, probably to serve. So they now want to push that out. So that I think that's been probably the most obvious difference why the models are suddenly much more performant. One thing that I'm interested in, and maybe you guys should see if you can find anyone to talk about this, is I've never seen any reporting around what does the data landscape look like in China? Like where are they getting, we've got like Scale in the US, right? But I'm assuming Scale doesn't serve Chinese companies, so I don't know, not sure. So where are they getting the data from? Because the environments and all of that, are they just building it in-house, or they've got like their own big equivalent companies? Because I think that if that's a source, for example, for like we saw very good developments from the front-end design capabilities. And that seems to, like, I don't believe it's all just all distilled from Fable, because, first of all, the timing doesn't align but also some of them exceed Fable. So it can be just that. They must be doing something that maybe we are not quite picking up on.
Yeah. I think with scale, you're probably right. I mean, after the whole Manus debacle, there's probably some
there's gotta be,
guardrails
there's
there
gotta be
with
something.
how they operate internally.
Does that mean like efficacy of benchmarks that are coming out of China? Just you have to take it with a pinch of salt.
I think I would say always take them with a pinch of salt. And also sometimes, I like our benchmarks. I think they're the best. But sometimes it's just worth just trying to understand what they're measuring. So for example, we've got Code Arena and front-end development. It doesn't mean to say that, it's now the best at all possible coding ever. So that's like one example. We've got also Agent Arena, which looks at the kind of more broader agentic tasks, and I think that does align with my intuition. And what we saw there, I don't think we've got the Quan score yet, but Kimi is like within top 8-ish, I think. So it's a very, very good score, but it's not quite at the frontier. But yeah, we've definitely seen the case that sometimes you see labs kind of publish the benchmarks, and then people start using it, starting to do other tasks, and it all kind of falls apart. But I don't think it's actually happened with Kimi. Like, I think after Kimi, we saw a lot of benchmarks come out, including ours, which is showing that, no, they are actually good. And we'll see with Quan, but like looks like really good model. So it's probably not going to fall apart either. So yeah, it's a kind of yes, but also don't just assume they're all rubbish. They're not. I think it is real.
Yeah, really cool. I know we are 1 minute over. And one last final question, Peter, for you. Are we in the singularity?
I think it depends how far you go back. I think like you saw those charts of GDP, right? Then in that case, yes. I think the key question for me is how much is research actually becoming recursive? My impression now, and I've been trying to run some maths problems myself, my sense is that they're still bad researchers. They don't really understand like what problems to focus on. They go down to the way too low level of detail. They don't step back. They don't learn kind of from their mistakes and so on. So it's kind of makes them a bad researcher for now. But they're amazing engineers. Yeah. So far it's kind of AI engineering is kind of eating the world and eating everything. Now it could be that research actually doesn't matter all that much. Maybe there's like being a bit of a good researcher, 99% being like amazing engineer means that we are like going to just automate everything, including research. But like for now, I'm not sure what's the ratio of that that matters. And it could be that they will just build better research models. But for now, like today, I think they're amazing engineers and like very mediocre researchers. But hopefully that will change.
Yeah,
and I think it will.
Peter, thank you so much for joining us. I know you have a meeting to get to, so thank you for spending your early afternoon with us. We really appreciate it. Thanks for coming on.
Brilliant. Good to speak.
Cheers, Peter. Have a good one.
See you soon.
Yeah, dude. What a legend. Flying away in his helicopter.
See you later. Let's just talk about Framer. Build better sites faster, the all-in-one platform built where enterprise teams design, build, and ship production-ready websites. No dev handoff, no bottlenecks, no creative compromises. Go to framer.com/ETN or etnshow.co. It's a great website. We built it on Framer.
Yeah, we're going to head to the timeline. We're going to see what everyone's saying about Astra. We've got a bunch of stuff to get into. As we kind of hinted earlier, there seems to be a split cohort. Existential dread on one hand from those involved in the industry with a mix of happiness as well. And then also everyone saying how amazing this is a breakthrough, we're in the singularity. Yeah. I'm not sure if we found...
Or telling the tech guys to go to the gym because, they don't need to be techie anymore.
That also. Straight up off the bat, we've got the co-founder of Corgi, just to set the scene. Nico Lacqua says, I don't know why no one is talking about how OpenAI's models are better than Anthropic's again. And I thought this was interesting because And VB comes in actually at the bottom. It's a good model, sir, says VB. Always good to see VB pop on timeline.
Getting in there with the graphs.
I feel like the tides have turned. I mean, I'm saying this from a person who, I'm not sat there pushing, Codex or Claude or Fable to their limits.
Yeah.
I'm more just sort of accruing general narratives from the space and having a look at them and see, picking what is the current narrative here, what seems to be how people are perceiving both sides of things. And it does seem to be that Sam had a great rebrand. They nailed the rebrand. I think that came majority from when he started drunk tweeting on the timeline.
He's definitely been, but he's also been less. The only tweets that he's really saying are almost like thank yous and hey, we've got
very
some
community
things.
focused.
We've got some things cooking for you.
And he's still losing
kind
his
of
lowercase with the tweets. It's in. That's in right now.
Very personable. I think it's actually falling out because it was in, and then everyone kind of caught on, and then if you're now doing it if you're now non-capitalizing anything. It's almost like come on, you're trying too hard to not try.
I think it just came back. I agree with you, but I think literally a week ago it just came back.
Did Sama bring it back?
I think he brought it back. But good take from Nico. It does seem to be like general consensus. That's a great soundbite. What's that one? Is that you?
Bring it back.
Oh, that's so good. I really like that. I thought that would take me off the screen. It's like a we'll be back soon, but I know it is the we'll be back soon.
Let's take him off.
That's so good. Our producer Sam is laughing over there. Thank you, Sam. But yes, no, Nico's. It seems to be the general consensus. I do feel that people are starting to lean a little bit more towards OpenAI on the narrative scene as well. And I'm not talking about exterior to tech because we know that Anthropic won their hearts during the DOW stuff.
Well, I mean, look, Anthropic have, it was in the FT last week, Anthropic have kind of like overtaken OpenAI on revenues, I think.
There's like 80 billion, trending towards 100 billion very soon. Wow, what a
because it was obviously they obviously won over the coding community, which is obviously a big community to win over, and then Codex came out and was really, really good. And so that's kind of muddied the waters on that conversation. Obviously, ChatGPT, when that launched, that obviously got, they crossed, I don't know if they've crossed 100 million users, but they're definitely getting close. I assume they have because they were at 80 at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, I saw something from the information like a week ago saying that they were just about to cross it, I think. And
so let's say they've crossed it. But which I think is less than Anthropic's Claude, but then you have how many of those people are paying for the model and all this kind of stuff. And I think Anthropic have monetized it better than OpenAI have with ChatGPT. So it'll be interesting to see, like, I don't know, where do you think that, what are your predictions now? Like, where do you think the narrative then goes? Like,
I come back. I don't feel that like we're going to see a clear winner, to be honest. I
there isn't
going to
be a winner.
edge. I don't know what that end goal looks like. But for now, I think we'll just keep seeing. I think the jumps we'll see will be. I mean, today's a great example of just how far we can jump in a single day, right? I think there are a lot of undiscovered jumps at the current model capabilities that we just haven't actually figured out yet.
Yeah.
Which I think will be interesting. I've got something up here from DC Investor at DC Investor. This guy was one of the OGs in the crypto scene actually a few years ago when I was messing around with NFTs. DC Investor says the era of the nerd is unfortunately over. He sympathizes with said nerds. Go to the gym and start lifting, he instructs. This is I guess worth a shots fired onto general people in the space, but he's obviously not thinking about those nerds who are also jacked.
Like a Peter Steinberger.
Absolutely jacked. I remember seeing that dude when we met him.
I want to say he's not at his peak right now.
He was.
Because there's that photo after he sold his last company where he just like went all in on the gym.
Yeah.
And I think he took I don't know, some time off and just went
to just gym.
Yeah, to just gym.
To just gym and
got
pushed
absolutely jacked. And then everything with the agents was coming out and everything. And I think he was probably like coding at one point, throughout this gym thing, but just less. And then he started building with agents. And then just got super deep into agents, and then obviously created OpenClaw back in probably February. But let's just give a bit more context about this. So Sebastian Bubeck said, yes, non-SOFIC groups exist. This Statement is one of the many new beautiful results proved by Astra, our next major model. We're releasing 10 such Astra proofs, which we've gone over, complete with lean certificates and TOT walkthroughs for each of them. The results are wide-ranging, from von Neumann algebras, disproof of Con's rigidity conjecture, to better bounds for high-dimensional sphere packing, for circuit complexity, for monochromatic triangles in multicolored graphs, and more. That was basically what happened. And then Li Ji Chen then said 10 proofs from our next major model, Astra. So they did kind of get on the timeline and kind of push this personally, which I think is pretty interesting. I think, does that mean that there's a little bit of like, hey, like we're not going to push this from the
comms reins are getting loosened perhaps a little bit?
Maybe,
which is nice to see.
And then Noam Brown screenshotted the kind of the indexing of everything that happened. Said an internal version of Astra, OpenAI's next major model family, solved 10 major problems in mathematics, quantum complexity, and theoretical computer science. And they were all kind of quote posts of each other, and then obviously DC Investor with the best one of all.
Yep. Yeah. It's good. Yeah, it's nice to see the comms reins get a little bit looser over there at OpenAI.
Yeah.
It's always nice to see.
So
let me just quickly tell you about our friends over there at Polymarket. These guys kill it. Polymarket, the world's largest prediction market. Stay informed, profit from your knowledge. Go to polymarket.com to get all the good stuff from them.
So let's just dive in. So Ryan Peterson kind of started the conversation off with what actually happens with these mathematicians, these tech people who are, they've spent their whole life working on, on these problems, and now they're just kind of, they're almost being made redundant to a very small degree right now, and we don't know really what's going to happen, onwards. But anyway, he says, imagine being a mathematician. You work on a problem for 10 years, and AI solves it in an hour. At least chess players still get to play against other humans. Maybe there's a thing where you kind of like separate out, like, let the AI do its thing, but do it behind closed doors, and get so far. Let the mathematicians just ride their career-long objectives. Like if I was a mathematician right now, could just close the door on, leave X, don't subscribe to any news or anything like that, and just go and work on the problem. If you're a problem, just do it for the love of the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's hard to it's hard to understand how you feel when 40 years of your life's work kind of gets proved in a single.
Yeah.
I mean, in many ways, that is like coming face to face with some sort of omnipotent being that can just solve your life's work with the click of the fingers. And
yes, exactly to what you're saying. Sanchin commented on that and said, for us programmers, we still have work to do because repetitive work is part of the job. Mathematicians, though, it is tough. You can't prove a theorem for a second time. Once you've done it, you've done it.
Yeah,
that's it.
In a weird way, it's actually completely different to what we discussed earlier with
it is. Well, we were having the conversation this morning, weren't we? Where it's like, it's you can't do it for the second time. So what do you do then? But then you can, maybe explain. You can be that job of explaining what the tech, what the models have actually just gone to solve. Because maybe a model can't necessarily explain anything, or humans can't. Not every human. If I say, hey, if I see this has been solved, this thing, one of those 10 things, still have no idea what that means.
I was actually working on one last night, so it's good to see that.
I don't think so. But you.
Denied.
but like a human could go and explain that thing and say, hey, this is exactly what the model has done. Come to us normies and explain very simply, hey guys, model's just done this. I'm like, cool, I've no idea, great, but I have no idea what that means.
Yeah.
Okay, please explain it to me.
So I don't think taking the realm of mathematics, I don't think that teachers or university professors during their teaching classes, or obviously spans all the way down to primary school, are they have any threat there as a whole. It would just be that top 5% of research professor level that would then result in some elements of an existential crisis in terms of I
wouldn't even say top 5. I'd say top 1.
Yeah, I saw someone say just everyone has to
frontier mathematicians
pivot to philosophy. It's you can't solve philosophy. Maybe that's the last moment.
Yeah, but these guys they're not doing they're missionaries. They love it.
Yeah,
you know?
but and there's probably like elements of overlap there. That Venn diagram, I'm sure there's some slight overlap with like mathematicians and philosophers as well. There's probably like a cusp, it like comes over slightly, you know. You can see like maybe some transferable skills.
You could explain philosophy through the work of maths, maybe.
Yeah, or the other way around.
Indeed. People are getting a little bit annoyed with how much celebration there is with AI solving these things. Rune said, people are incredibly mean to mathematicians in this time. They really relish, and just notice the non-capitalization here, really trying hard to not try hard. They really relish when AI solves something and frame it in a zero-sum way with human mathematicians. I think it evens out some childhood era math trauma they have, ? And then Miles goes on to say, I don't know, I've seen more mathematicians share concerns about what it means than non-mathematicians doing something on mathematicians. Insofar as non-mathematicians are weighing it in, it seems to usually be this shows ASI is close in other areas too. And I mean, this is like the most that we've got to with like ASI, I think.
And there's comments like, you know, you'd see that from like way life's work solved, and it's like from, you know, Mike down the road with 9 followers who like has never, you know, worked on math his whole life. You know what Rune's alluding to here? Like these were people who maybe struggled with math in the past, have a chip on their shoulder.
Yeah.
They're looking to get, you know, a quick dig back. Rub salt in the wounds while they're down.
Indeed, rub salt. Let's keep going down deeper into the kind of like the, you know, what actually happens to the work of mathematicians. Jeremy Kaufman said, let's pull this up first. Oh, maybe not like that. There is nothing I can do. There may be nothing you can do. I have no prescriptions, policy recommendations, or coherent call to action. I just want to be honest and open about my emotional and spiritual response. I want to feel seen. I want folks like me to feel seen. I need the architects of our new mathematical paradigm to look me in the eye and acknowledge our shared humanity and soul before they deliver the coup de grace. Is that how I say it, Alex? I need most of all for us to understand what we are really doing. Jeremy Kaufman said, I've spent over 10,000 hours of my life writing code. Now that a machine can do it 20 times faster at a fraction of the price, I will probably never write substantial code again. I do not feel a modicum of sadness. I'm excited that I can do more faster. I'm happy that the entire world will benefit in untold ways from this massive increase in productivity. How people react to a miraculous technology says a lot about their personality. Many people want to find a niche where they can perform a skill on repeat and feel threatened if a machine encroaches. Others remain dynamic. They see the big picture, integrate and adapt. This type has a very, very bright future. And it's true, right? There's like a pulling away of like two different
really cool
sides.
Yeah.
Where, you know, this has happened. We've talked about this so many times where it's like, this has happened in history many, many times, and humans are, you know, very efficient, beings. They go and find the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And for those people, if you are, then I think it's looking good for you, as Jeremy's saying. But if you're the one that's kind of doomer and saying, hey, like I wanna continue doing my thing, you're just gonna get left behind, I think.
You got to smile. You have to imagine Sisyphus happy. That is the takeaway. That is the takeaway from today. Take it with you. Take it home. Pack it up. Bring it home. Open it up. That's the takeaway. We're gonna move on to the next story. We've got the EU AI Act labeling is rolling out today, guys. What a day. The EU AI Act labeling is rolling out today, and we are pumped. We are pumped to have a look at what we've got in the regulation cookie jar. AI's cookie banner moment. EU labels come for the bots. This is from the FT. New regulations require companies to label chatbots, deepfakes, and AI-generated marketing material. The EU set this plan out. I think it was proposed in 2021. The EU AI Act. It's slightly been altered since then. It's been coming through the works, and it's finally, we're starting to see some of the results, the physical results. We're not just looking at legislation. We're not just looking at graphs or LinkedIn posts or news. It's actually going to start happening. European companies are racing to label chatbots, deepfakes, and AI-generated marketing material as Brussels prepares to enforce the first consumer-facing obligation under its landmark AI Act. Online retailers, travel groups, and advertising agencies are among the businesses overhauling websites and customer service systems before new transparency rules take effect on August the 2nd. So what are the rules? A sort of brief breakdown here from the FT. The rules require companies to tell customers when they're interacting with AI systems and to identify AI-generated images, audio, and video. The deadline also marks the point when the European Commission can begin imposing fines on companies that fail to comply with the act. We love a fine. We love to get the fine.
Get those fines
It's
in
revenue.
there.
It's a revenue stream. It increases the top line. There will be a cookie banner moment for AI, said Patrick Van Eek, a lawyer at Cooley, referring to the cookie notices that became ubiquitous under Europe's privacy regime. Until now, the AI Act has largely been abstract. Now everyone will actually start seeing labels telling them certain content was generated by AI. You know, just super quick, I used to be, I heard this and I was like, oh, for God's sake, come on, guys. Like, we do not have time to regulate this thing. It's flying away. I then
Enemy
drifted.
spoiler, we're going to get them. We're going to find them.
I
Go find them.
I drifted more into the safety conscious club as well. Still, a fan of pace and we just push this thing forward. I drifted a little bit into the safety conscious club, but I do now believe, I saw a post the other day that basically said, where did all the AI generated content go? I'm not seeing any of it anymore.
It's because LinkedIn got the AI slut button and it, train the algo.
It could have been that.
Like, take that out. We don't like that.
I saw someone repost that with, the World War II plane flying back with the bullet holes. And it's
nice.
Those are the
Good
patches
analogy.
you shouldn't have done.
Great analogy.
And it's true. Like, I do feel that, the previous benchmarks for this was the Will Smith spaghetti eating. That was essentially the unspoken benchmark for where are the image generation models at.
Early days, that was like...
It's Will Smith eating spaghetti.
How's Will Smith doing?
Yeah, and everyone just kind of accepted
the moment
that.
he's
That's
just
fine.
all over the place.
And now he's on Will.
Now it's basically Will.
But now it's getting incredibly good. And some of the stuff that I see now, it's getting to a point where I have to take a while and work out, okay, is this actually AI generated?
So when Saba came on last week, was that Friday? I think so.
Yeah.
Or Thursday.
So maybe.
When he came on last week, they about an hour after he came on, they did like a kind of comparison between real Saba, talking about, I think it was a new product push or something, and then AI Saba. And they, but no one knew which one. They didn't label them. And they said, if you guess which one's AI and which one's not.
Great engagement hook.
Yeah. It's classic. It's Saba's really good at that.
Hack.
And I commented and said, I bet you better not have AI'd yourself on our interview. Because they did genuinely look exactly the same. I think I could only just, with like a good few minutes of looking, I think I got it right. I actually don't know. We'll have to ask him when he comes back on the show. I think it was on the right, was the AI one. But it was pretty hard.
I think the only thing blocking now, like that
it's
kind
speech,
of stuff,
in my opinion, it's like
it's the latency on responsiveness. So like if I'm having a conversation with AI Luke, I ask a question, the pause there will probably be long enough where like, okay, why is this guy taking a second longer to reply to me?
Nicola at Poly AI was like, the latency's like completely, it's video and speech.
But combining like voice, video, speech,
Sure,
that I'm sure maybe there'll be some sort of like latency buffer.
Sure.
But yeah, for voice, I mean, I haven't heard Poly AI's new voice model, the one we had him on for, but I assume it's pretty clean cut. I presume it's pretty good.
I think it's indistinguishable.
But it's so separately to that. Like I do think that this is, in some realms, to be honest, actually very appropriate for some of the short form media we're seeing on like Instagram or Facebook or TikTok or whatever platform you're on. Because I do feel, part of me is slightly worried that this type of AI content is fooling not only just people not in the tech ecosystem, but like people who maybe kind of have like a less sort of informed position to realize it is AI.
Sure.
Specifically in the world of the Facebook users, I think that 40-year-old boomers on Facebook are just getting one-shotted by like crazy AI videos, and they just have no idea, unfortunately, right? So I do feel like it is actually a good thing that they are warned in elements. They mentioned the deadline. The deadline is an early test of whether Brussels can make AI more transparent for consumers without slowing the adoption of a technology that EU leaders say is essential to Europe's competitiveness. Nice to know that they're getting that in there. It obviously is. Ursula von der Leyen wants businesses to adapt AI more rapidly to prevent the bloc from falling further behind the US and China in the global AI race. This is, it's all well and good to say that. Are we actually doing that? another question.
Yeah, we are. We're finding our way.
We're finding our way to the top. It's
Let's do
fine.
this. Get those fines going.
Get those fines going. The new labels are intended to make consumers aware when they are interacting with AI-generated content. So,
Sure.
if I'm talking to a chatbot, obviously it's AI. I don't know. But again, I think people who aren't aware of tech will hopefully know now that when they're engaging with sort of like a chatbot interface, that they're aware that it's not AI. Sorry, that it is AI. But for the image generation or video generation or short form stuff, I think I'm pro this. I think it's necessary. In a similar way that like
Very European of you.
If you, I'm regulating. I'm going to regulate this thing. But in the similar way that you had to mark whether it was an ad or not on thing, I think that was a great thing.
Yeah.
I'm pro that. And again, there's very light parallels between those two rollouts. I think here, in my mind personally.
What happens when it's AI generated and an ad?
Wait, these are flooding my Instagram, and I tell you who's getting one-shotted by these. It's boomer dads. I don't know if anyone else here in the studio. I assume our feeds will be like relatively similar. Sam, you may have seen this. It's like the Tai Chi. The Tai Chi guys doing Tai Chi, and it's like 50-year-old men, 40-year-old men doing Tai Chi, and it's obviously AI. It's like, I've been doing this Tai Chi workout for 45 minutes a day, and I got rock hard abs. And it's like just like a guy in like a pretty normal house.
What are they selling? Tai Chi classes?
I think it's a class that you can buy, like some sort of online class. And they're just doing like squats and stuff in their living room, and
That's so good.
So I don't know.
Thanks for insinuating that I'm old enough to be getting those as well now. That's great. You said boomer dads and looked straight across the room at me. I appreciate that. Millennial dad, thanks.
You're the
very much.
oldest in the room.
Millennial
You're the oldest in the room.
Millennial dad.
Ding dong. Tai Chi man's at your door.
But mate, they will be getting one-shotted. I just know they will. It's like a two-step process to sign up.
I want rock hard abs.
But it's literally as simple as that. Like, and it probably costs like $3.99. Like the turnover is incredibly high. The impressions they're getting is insane. And we're seeing it even with
what do you reckon the margins on a business like that are?
like 99%, like 99.9%.
Do you reckon?
Like they will be
absolutely
printing.
crushing.
There's an AI monk Instagram account.
Oh, dude, that thing prints money.
I don't know what. Last time I checked, it was like 4 million followers, bro.
60 mil views a day type thing.
And I don't even know what the product is. Like obviously maybe ads, but I don't know. Like
meditation.
Yeah, maybe it's connected. It's AI generated short form as a growth hack for a meditation app.
I feel like I did see. I haven't seen them for a while, but I feel like I did see people saying it's actually it does work. The product is good. Like it's not like it's a bad product.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, fair enough.
They're not just shipping bad product, but good marketing.
I mean, the growth hack is incredible. It's one of the most successful growth hacks I've seen. For
it's hands off. It's hands off.
Because it's just auto-generated,
build a bunch of agents, go to any video generation model, which is like good enough, and there's a bunch of them now.
Yeah, the machine's just burring. Maybe we could get Jedi on actually to talk about this. Jedi would know this in and out.
Indeed, he would. Andrew Curran, let's just jump into a tweet about the AI Act.
There weren't many takes.
AI Act.
I think this is the only take.
Andrew Curran says the EU AI Act comes into effect today. Sounds very excited. Models must clearly identify themselves as AI. Anthropic, Google, Meta, Microsoft, Mistral, and OpenAI, among many others, have all committed to adhering to this. AI-generated images, videos, and audio must be labeled and watermarked. I don't know if you read this, but it says under the new rules, chatbots and other interactive AI systems will have to tell their users they are dealing with AI, not a human. Deepfakes, images, videos, or audio that have been edited or generated using AI will have to be labeled. AI-generated or altered content will also have to carry machine-readable marks so it can be detected more easily. And I agree. I'm for this.
I'm for it for the short form stuff.
Yeah. Thanks to Andrew for posting that on X. One of the only people to.
It was the only. I think it was like literally one of 5 takes. And the other 4 were from like
you're
AI
doing God's
slop.
work. You're doing God's work.
News aggregators.
It was AI slop. Did they say that it was AI?
The other ones were just like they obviously just like copy and pasted this off something. Like it was like an agentic tweet post basically. But Andrew, I think, was the only human, ironically, to report on the labeling. I'm pro this. I'm happy it's here. It's good to see that we're taking, because that future does worry me a little bit. The short form. And do you remember Sora? Do you remember when they OpenAI dropped Sora?
Yeah.
and they were like, "This
Shut
is
down
the
now.
new."
Sad times.
Yeah, well, yeah. To be honest, yeah, maybe sad times. One out for Sora, pour one out. I remember seeing this. Remember the takes? They were like, they've created a sort of like Wall-E endgame human infinity loop dopamine sucking machine. Where
Yeah. Well, they're creating a new app.
It will. Every video would know
exactly. It would
what to
create.
hook you.
It would create videos that it knew
like maximum amount of dopamine release each time until you're just like sapped out and maybe just fall asleep.
Bonkers scary.
But you just sat in that chair. You can imagine at the end of Wall-E where those people are just sat in the chairs and they've just got a screen here and it's just like sucking the dopamine out of their face. Maybe quite a dystopian future. They did just release an app to that. They didn't actually.
I would say that is. But that was. Was that an article that said that, or was that?
That was just general takes on. I mean, OpenAI weren't like, we're going to suck your faces off with all the dopamine and.
No, but it's like, hey, we're going to create an app that allows you to have, because obviously you can frame that in a very kind of positive way, and say, hey, we're going to create the app for short form media that produces content that is
the best.
Perfect for you.
You're gonna love it.
It's the best. It's tailored for you.
Yeah.
In reality, it's just keeping you sucked in.
You're stuck in an infinite loop of dopamine hits that just get
I'd just be dogs and people like surfing. That'd be great.
Mine would be barbecued meat and chess videos.
Nice.
That's my whole feed. Let's get on to the next piece. We want to talk about Trump and Truth Social. Now, this was, to be honest,
hilarious.
This is insane to me personally. I think this is insane. I'm not sure how there wasn't more. I mean, there was a lot of backlash around this, especially from Americans included. But for those who don't know, Trump has been accused of abusing his power by selling VIP access to Truth Social posts. He is selling information of a nationally strategic level that will move markets, whether it's geopolitical, around financial markets, or just general info from the president. For up to $100,000 a month. President charging banks and trading firms $100,000 for early access to social media feed Truth Social, the one that he owns. I think he has around 12 million followers on it. I don't know who is using this app. Yeah. He traditionally used to screenshot Truth Social posts and put them on X because he had a spat with Musk, but I think now he's kind of back on X a little bit, but then sometimes does the Truth Social post.
He's back on X indirectly through the White House account, posting, Rick and Morty videos and stuff.
Yeah, I don't think he's the one.
He's late night prompting.
He's got a team of Gen Zers that are just like smashing the timeline.
Let him cook.
Let him cook. Donald Trump's social media company has started selling VIP access to his posts despite claims the service amounts to a shocking abuse of power. Truth Social, the Twitter-like service where the president regularly posts updates, has started offering a high-speed feed to banks and high-frequency trading firms. Naturally, in that world, that latency gap can mean that 0.1 of a second in terms of how quickly I get the alpha can mean the difference between $10 billion and zero. I imagine they could probably have charged a lot more than 100,000 to many of these hedge funds. Trump owns a 41% stake in Trump Media and Technology Group, TMTG, the company behind Truth Social. The plans to sell fast lane access to his posts, first disclosed earlier in the summer, have proved a backlash from Democrats who say Mr. Trump is abusing his position to make money. While the service will officially give access to a selection of the highest-ranking Truth Social accounts, Mr. Trump is by far the most popular. He has 12.9 million followers on the service, compared with 7.5 million, the next most popular, his son, Don Jr. A lot of people, including Americans, are saying that this is a shocking abuse of office. You're profiting from being in office.
Yeah.
That can't be allowed. That's a...
He's been doing that for years anyway. But
he has, to be fair. Yeah, that's a zinger. He absolutely has.
He's doing good work.
Zinger.
Doing good work for his wallet.
Obviously, I'm all about increasing shareholder value, and if I was on the board of TMTG Media and I worked there, I would also want to increase shareholder value, but I'm not. So I do find this kind of crazy. But in a letter sent last week to Paul Atkins, the chairman of the market regulator, the Securities and Exchange Commission, the SEC, Senators Elizabeth Warren and Adam Schiff demanded an investigation into whether the arrangement was legal. This appears to be an outrageous abuse of the president's office for his personal benefit that undermines everyday investors and the integrity of our markets, while enriching Wall Street and other wealthy insiders, they wrote. President Trump has a significant financial interest in Trump Media based on his ownership of roughly 41% of the company, and as a result stands to profit from the launch of this service. I cannot find a take where this would be like a good or a fair idea.
Yeah. So
it does not exist.
This was a really good tweet. Vikram Chandra, a journalist over at the India Story, he founded editor. He said, "This is extraordinary. President Trump puts out what is presumably official US policy on his Truth Social posts. Who is he bombing and who he isn't? Who is he putting tariffs on, and when he is backing down? This is market moving intelligence, which will now be available for a price paid to a private party. In most countries, they would use the C word for this."
But
great
it's
post.
true. It's true, and I cannot find that a positive spin on this does not exist.
Yeah.
Because it's just the most
Well, no, of course it doesn't.
blatant, like, insane.
Hey, do you want alpha? Pay me, a bunch of money.
Yeah, speaking of alpha, let me tell you about our friends over there at Base.
Let's
Base, the infrastructure of the on-chain world. Base is built to empower builders, creators, and people everywhere to build apps, grow businesses, create what they love, and earn on-chain. Go to base.org.
Indeed.
Go and earn on-chain.
I tell you, Legan's getting a bunch of alpha from Trump's posts. Just paid $100,000 to get early access to this. Absolute banger. Let him cook.
I haven't seen that one. Sneak in. That's brilliant. I hadn't come across that.
That's good alpha.
So maybe, imagine you sat
Imagine
at
you
Jane
pay
Street.
you pay $100,000 for
Yeah,
that.
you're at Jane Street and you're like, guys, the first one's coming through, everyone's got it on the big screen, like, get ready to trade, and it's just like, some AI generated picture of him.
Great tweet.
Most people, and a lot of people who even on the timeline, that are well-known individuals who have previously been very, positive around his time in office, have kind of come out and just said, I'm going to distance myself completely from this. Like, this is just not a cool thing. Which is, I'm trying to just work out, how did this get through? How did this get passed?
No, I think he's just done
office.
it, and then it's like everyone's like, "Whoa,
But surely
that's pretty
there has to
controlling."
be some advisor that's there, like, "Hey guys, not actually sure if we should do this. Like, can't imagine." There's no way, because it's like everything that's like, all from traditional takes from a comms perspective. It's like abuse of power. If it was open to like retail investors as a priority, maybe you could spin like, he's looking after the everyman of America. Like the common guys getting in on a good deal, but he's saying it's like the hedge funds. So it's just all, like, they get enough stick anyway from people who would be opposed to this.
Yeah.
There's just like red flag. It's just covered in red flags. I've never seen so many red flags in my life on something.
I'm going to get probably some stick for this, but it's pretty clever.
I mean, look, he's going to make cash. He's going to make a lot of money.
He's going to make bang. I mean, if that is obviously the plan, and it's a pretty smart move. If you are the person like Trump who doesn't care about whatever people say,
he would be the only
and the
person
repercussions.
in the world that would do that. He just doesn't care.
Game's the game. Hate the player. Hate the game. Don't hate the player.
He is. He's going to be stacking shed from it for sure. But I just found that incredibly interesting.
Indeed. What next have we got on the docket?
We have the Sainsbury's acquisition. Sainsbury's is buying Argos. For those who aren't familiar with both, Sainsbury's, a popular UK-based food chain. I'm not even sure if they operate in Europe. Do they operate in Europe? I don't think I've ever seen a Sainsbury's outside of the UK. They're acquiring Argos, another popular, debatable whether it's popular, another chain usually done for click and collect items. I actually am a huge fan of Argos, so this pains me to see because I got my fan from there.
Why is that bad? It's great.
Well,
more backing.
We're gonna see. Well, there's some takes in here.
Interesting.
Let's
dive into the headline on the Guardian.
Let me pull this up. Where are we? Sorry, I have it. Sainsbury's is selling Argos to 3 retail veterans in a £120 million deal. Trio swept up Swift Partners for the acquisition, allowing the supermarket to focus on core food business. Even, the frontier food labs are now sort of going code red, putting the blinders on, and they're just focusing on the mission. They're just focusing on what they have in front of them.
Maybe Argos can pivot to an AI company like the Allbirds did.
So, quick one on Allbirds. I saw an Allbirds in Mayfair.
What, a shop?
The other day, full of shoes.
No way.
Nothing. No data centers in there.
No chips on the wall.
No chips on the walls. It was just literally full of, full of shoes. So,
wow.
Yeah. Slight detour. Here's what the article says about the Sainsbury's Sainsbury's selling Argos for 120 million. One, in very low price to me. I was surprised at how low that was. Sainsbury's has agreed to sell Argos retail chain for 120 million to allow it to concentrate on its core food business. The supermarket announced on Friday it was selling the catalogue shopping business to a trio of retail veterans a decade after buying the company for more than £1 billion. Yikes. That is a Leopold level loss. I wonder if they were moving that on leverage, maybe get Leopold back into the Sainsbury's business to turn that ship around.
Sainsbury's hire Leopold.
Hire Leopold.
He needs a job.
Argos is being bought by Swift Partners, a new company established for the deal by Richard Pennycook, who used to run the cooperative group and turned around the Morrison's supermarket chain. This guy sounds like an absolute supermarket killer.
Guys just doing distressed deals in supermarket chains.
For supermarket turnarounds. Richard Pennycook. So he turned around Co-op Group and turned around Morrison's as well. 2 huge names on the CV.
Guys cooking.
If you're operating in that world. Just a deals guy, along with another former Morrison's executive, Trevor Strain and Matt Truman. Simon Roberts, Sainsbury's chief executive, said it would be business as usual for staff, customers, and suppliers. I wonder if anyone of the Argos employees have stock. And this is a huge day for them.
No
liquidity event.
We haven't seen any. We haven't seen any unions like Samsung, where it's like, hey, we need a share of the profits. I don't think they do, unfortunately.
That's unfortunate. We should advocate for that. Argos employees need stock in the future when we have big liquidity events like this.
I assume Argos will have a union.
Probably, yeah.
They could do a bit of a,
Maybe they can protest the acquisition or something.
They can do a strike, and you'd have to get your fan a few days later.
I mean, if that happened, I'd be furious. all the fans were sold out last time. I had to get a really bad one. I've got like a mini desk fan, but because my desk is a stand-up desk and I can move it, I can adjust the fan height on my desk.
Nice.
Yeah, that's pretty cool moment for me. For Sainsbury's, this is a further step forward in our strategy, apparently. This is coming from Roberts. Having rebuilt the core strengths of our food business, this agreement allows us to focus all our resources and investment on the significant opportunities ahead. I'd be very keen to know what these significant opportunities are. Pennycook, the deal guy, the guy we all know and love, the guy that we've come to praise, said, "We believe strongly in Argos's future and see real opportunities to invest and build on its progress. Argos's combination of a strong digital business supported by standalone stores inside Sainsbury's and local fulfillment centres gives it a distinctive position in the market and an excellent platform for growth." We've got a little bit here on Pennycook and his background.
Let's go.
Just check how much of a dog this guy is. Pennycook brings a long career in grocery retail to Argos. He has been credited with bringing Morrison's back from the financial brink after its takeover of Safeway led to a collapse in profits and the first loss in the company's history.
Well, it's good backing music for this.
Pennycook joined as a financial director in 2005, tasked with picking up the pieces from the botched integration, but was twice passed over for the top job and left in 2013. Oh, so this is his comeback era. This is his villain arc. They
said the deal guy needs to have at least one, blowout before you can become.
He's like Leopold level.
Yeah, nice. He's only had one, right?
Just one.
Because two is too many.
2, you're out.
You need to be post one.
Just one. That's enough. It's the perfect amount.
Yeah.
Perfect amount.
Yeah. You need to get your hand burnt, a little bit by the fire.
Yeah. Know the fire's hot.
Yeah. Just to know how painful it is.
But be comfortable being around it as well.
And then also learn how to get back. But then if you get back and then you go and then you blow out again, it's.
Then you're done.
Well, then you're just a loose cannon.
Yeah, and you don't. You're not legible for capital then.
you're seriously less legible.
You're not legible
than
at
before.
all. So Penny Cook, he following this being passed over for the job twice in 2013, he then stepped in to lead the Co-op Group after its banking arm's financial problems were compounded by a tabloid sting that revealed drug use by the bank's former chair, Paul Flowers. Here, Pennycock was also praised for rebuilding the company. Classic Pennycock, just getting in there, rebuilding the whole thing. Sainsbury's bought Argos as part of the home retail group, along with its other brands, including Habitat, in early 2016 in a £1.3 billion deal in an effort to create a combined food and non-retailer to take companies such as Amazon and John Lewis on. I think Amazon just recorded the most money made ever for a company in a month. Month just gone, so maybe this guy's not as much as a demon as we thought he was. Although he's just a deal guy.
We'll get him next time.
He's just a deals guy. But there are some takes on the timeline. There are some takes on Sainsbury's selling to Argos for the measly sum of 120 million.
Yeah, the quick one was Chuck Thomas saying, having a bad day, ? Just remembering Sainsbury's bought Argos in 2016 for £1.4 billion and sold it 10 years later for £120 million. Just a correction, he says, I received many messages saying Sainsbury's sold Argos Financial Services in 2024 for 720 million. I'll miss those little blue pens. So a little bit less of a loss
confusion on the
than before, but yeah. And then we had Landford Downtown said, what a disastrous deal it was acquiring Argos. The whole appeal of Argos was ordering and quick collection, not parking up in a busy Sainsbury's and battling to/from the back of a dimly lit store with large items. Wilkinson then went on to say they lost all their value when they closed their large stores or warehouses and replaced them with the smaller locations in their Sainsbury's stores. Most items are now next day collection. You may as well order from Amazon for a next day and not have to leave your house.
Yeah.
Indeed, that is very clueless.
I will say, when I got my fan, that was same hour. I just walked in and got it.
How far are you away from an Argos, though?
Like
10-minute walk?
15 minute?
Yeah.
20 minute?
Yeah. See, most people aren't.
5 minute?
Most people aren't. 2 minute?
They offered me 20. They offered me 15. No, yeah. So I'm pro Argos in general. I hope that this does bolster employee morale. I hope that some of them are exposed to the.
I'm here for the eventual sale of Amazon to Argos. I think they'll get over them.
You think?
Yeah.
Huge prediction.
I think they'll rally.
Really back in the underdog.
They'll fire a bunch of staff, get a bunch of AI in that thing.
AI wash it.
Start to rip sales.
I hear you.
And then we'll see where they go.
I hear that. Yeah, it's a controversial take. So definitely a hot take.
Miles says, now I think about why the hell wouldn't Bezos buy Argos for £120 million? There's no other way to get 600 plus locations with ready-made logistics and staff that cheap. That is actually a very good take.
Mm-hmm. The timeline recognised that, 677,000 views.
Indeed. Very, very good take from Miles. I agree. I assume... Because surely, by Argos, it has the physical infrastructure, which is the hard bit. Mm-hmm. It's built that up. I don't know how long Argos has been going, but let's say 25 years, 30 years. Could be completely wrong, but let's say that. And check. They've done, they've done the physical build out. Go and just, AI it. Put a bunch of AI in it. Amazon the hell out of it. There you go. You're good.
You're about right. It's like 46 years.
There you go. It's been going too long. It's kind of like the Blockbuster thing when Netflix started to kind of come out. I remember a few people being like, why wouldn't you just go and acquire all of these physical locations? Because at one point in the Blockbuster boom, there was thousands of them across the US. And then there's a great video of them all kind of shutting down over the next 10 years. All into just 0 stores. And at one point it was well, why didn't someone just buy them? It was the cheapest way to get, thousands of stores, physical stores all across the country in some of the best places, some of the best neighborhoods. I don't know, that seems like a very cheap, easy way to go and, save yourself about 800 million.
Yeah. And they have the money.
And I'm sure they have the money.
It's a sneeze. It's a rounding error.
It is.
For Bezos over there. But he's more focused on getting some...
lost the deal to who bought them? 24 partners.
Who bought them? There's like a three split of retail investors.
Okay.
So retail companies. It's been like hacked apart and sold off. Swift Partners.
Amazon losing the deal to Swift Partners.
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, Bezos is more focused on buying a little slice of Liverpool, isn't he?
That's true.
Which is quite cheap to see him and Eduardo Saverin.
Yeah.
Which is a funny who's who of tech coming into Liverpool Football Club to purchase it.
Indeed. Let's just quickly talk about, let's do it. 11 Labs.
11 Labs, we love them.
AI that communicates at a human level across every channel and modality, deploy conversational agents across every customer interaction and create on-brand content at scale. Go to 11labs.io. Let's quickly talk about NHS and their plan to revise the Palantir deal. This was a story in the Financial Times, I think this morning. Super interesting. NHS England to revise Palantir platform data after staff concerns. Changes to two most widely cited claims come as scrutiny grows over the US company's contract. Now, the FT reported the NHS England will revise how it calculates its two most cited success metrics for Palantir's federated data platform, which was the kind of, the big platform pulling all the data of the NHS together to make more inference, make things smoother, make things quicker. The FDP claimed that hospitals using it delivered 110,000 additional operations and cut discharge delays by 15%. Internal NHSE analysts flagged that the pre-adoption baseline, and this is why the kind of benchmarks are not as good as they're not as good benchmarks as we actually should be using. They flagged that the pre-adoption baseline, comparing post-adoption activity to just the 6 months prior, wasn't valid because pronounced seasonal patterns could skew the results. I think that's pretty obvious to infer. The same flaw applied to the discharge delay calculation for trusts which with under 12 months of data. NHSE published and promoted these figures for over a year anyway. The corrected methodology won't appear until the September quarterly update, at least 16 months after the first publication. A caveat admitting the data doesn't prove cause and effect was only added in May 2026 after staff pushback triggering a UK statistics watchdog investigation. Independent analysis from Health Foundation found no noticeable improvement in discharge performance at hospitals using the tool, and the FT found errors in a key underlying data set. Now, there's MPs now have this kind of political pressure for whether that £330 million contract should have some form of break clause in March 27. Essentially, headline evidence used to justify the FDP's success was basically just flawed. The NHSE NHSE knew from its own staff before continuing to cite the figures, with no independent verification showing the platform works, mounting data government concerns and a contract break clause approaching in March 2027. So it's going to be a little bit hot over the next kind of 6 months plus.
Yeah,
a little bit longer.
For me, this is just we saw early hints at this with Mustafa Suleyman, one of the OG co-founders of DeepMind, when he was setting up a partnership between DeepMind and the NHS, a number of years ago. Ultimately, ended up getting, which was working. It was improving the speed in which people on the ground in the hospital could communicate. Like an internal messaging system, essentially. And it basically came under scrutiny because DeepMind was the scary AI company. It was also been acquired by Google at this point. So it was not also the scary AI company, but it was, we're selling our data to the Americans. The US can see all our private information.
That was the big, hey, why are we doing this?
Yeah, and it is Demis and Mustafa Suleyman, that they aren't doing that, but the story sells incredibly well, right? Scary big American firm working on intricate private health data for our citizens. Obviously you can lobby up a bunch of people to get angry at that and kick them out. it was working as well. So, we saw how hard it is to push an enterprise product into an institution like the NHS back then. It's clear that things haven't really changed.
Especially the fact that the NHS is one of the I think it is the best health data sets in the world. So it's once you've cracked the NHS, you are the owner of globally recognized data.
And I remember when we had Lewis,
very, very powerful, of course.
Lewis on, the UK CEO of Palantir, and the conversation was essentially structured around like, look, guy, and this was after the Green Party fella, Zach, was like, this guy's a scammer, kick him out, whatever.
Yeah. The founder of Palantir, Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah. The guy's work was just terrible. But the conversation was structured around like, look, regardless of
NHS founder Elon Musk is,
I don't think it was Musk. But the conversation was structured around like, regardless of whether you believe that, that the American companies should be involved with this area of like privatized data that, yes, is sensitive data for the nation, regardless of whether you believe that or not, like, let's look at the facts. Like, this is having a trickle-down effect on lives saved in the NHS. Like, more surgeries are being completed, the wait times are decreasing, and there's an argument there for like correlation versus causation. Were things just getting better generally as Palantir came in already? I don't think that the answer would be yes to that.
And then they're saying, well, this methodology of measuring this data isn't actually it's not very trustworthy. That's now this kind of the whole point of this article. It's like, hey, how we're measuring this isn't correct, and it's very flawed, and therefore all of the stuff that you're saying is actually working. We don't actually know if it is working, and they'll be using that as as leverage to create some form of break clause within this £330 million contract.
Yeah, and it's a really large contract, right? That's a huge,
biggest contract in NHS history, I think.
There we go. Like insane. So I can understand why one side would want to get rid of it and one side would want to keep it in.
Yeah.
But it's funny that this is coming from staff. Like revising the Palantir platform data after staff concerns. Like I just feel that people on the ground have reported that like, we love this thing and it's working.
Yeah.
But then I know it was like Burnham had put out, he'd made a statement around like, if I do come into office, one of the first things I'll do is I'll get Palantir out of the NHS.
Yeah.
And it's like the reasons for doing that is because like perceiving that is, let's get the scary American AI company out of our NHS. And it's like, okay, but what's the trade-off here? Do we want sovereignty or do we want to save people's lives? Because if we get the sovereignty thing, then cool, more people will probably die. But if we get the non-sovereign path forward, like things will gradually improve. Like it's frontier technology.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I just this stuff, like I just have no idea why.
It's always been a very political,
another side.
Very political deal.
But anyway, they're kind of using it as like a political puppet.
They are. Might View AI agents for winning teams, the agentic recruiting platform built for radically efficient hiring, end-to-end, source, engage, and hire better with AI agents that truly get your brief. Go to metaview.ai. Let's move on to some bangers before we have Finn on the show.
Yes, yeah. I think we could probably get a quick.
Can we just quickly go through the Chamath memes?
Yes.
Let's pull these up. These are great. So Beth Jezos at Beth Jezos kind of pulled this out the hat again. The amazing Chamath meme. He said, when you say life is a stochastic path integral instead of S word happens. Absolutely great post. But the best thing is the comments. It's just meanwhile, giving God Emperor from June. Incredible. There's another one that's just down it. they just keep getting better and better. This is even better. God Emperor of June vibes.
Well, a lot of the June. Oh man, that is.
It's got a mega pint of wine.
That thing is a forever meme right there. There's no way that will ever go out of business. What is that thing? I remember when this first came out, it was like it's like a very common insect. Like it looks incredibly scary, but it's very normal. It's in all of. I think it's a flea.
Oh really?
Yeah. It's a flea under a microscope, I think.
Wow.
Let me just triple check.
Anyway, we can pull that off the screen.
I think it is a flea.
Here we go. BVNK accelerating the global money movement. BVNK provides enterprise-grade stablecoin infrastructure for global businesses, enabling fast, compliant payment and digital asset solutions worldwide. Go to bvnk.com. I think we should. You're looking for a helicopter.
I thought I could hear a helicopter then, but I'm not sure if I actually could. We could maybe just quickly get up the Tau humanoid. This is what our next guest will be chatting with us about. Luke, you might have to pull this one up, actually. The video from Alexander Koch. So today we're launching Tau's humanoid cleaning service in San Francisco at $30 per hour. Access is initially invite only as we scale operations, but if you don't have an invite yet, join the waitlist. All footage is shown at 1x speed. Each humanoid is jointly controlled by a human operator and AI. We can see.
I just love the way that
dexterity.
it picks up the bag and just walks off. Look at this. See ya.
Just incredible, isn't it?
What a guy.
Imagine actually that's actually cleaner that's rocking up. It was a very like Wii Sports walk off, to be fair, wasn't it? Like just on his way to work there, the little guy. His first day in the office.
Nothing in, nothing between the eyes. If he has eyes, doesn't he?
He does have eyes, yeah. He's got
like spiky hair as well.
There.
He looks great.
But this was doing numbers on the timeline. It did 2.5 million views. It seems like a real step forward, right? We've seen a lot of dialogue around humanoid robots, whether it's 1X, whether it's Figure. A lot more are popping up. But this kind of came out of nowhere. 2.5 million views. And was incredibly well received.
If we can pull my screen up, we can see a few more videos.
This is $30 an hour, which is not too bad of a price point for something like this.
Oh, it's very interesting.
It's very dexterous, very agile.
Some cool socks on as well. Bit of soap.
Oh wow!
He's washing his hands. Do we need audio? There you go. Audio's on.
I'm not sure that Alexander hasn't put any audio on his videos.
Why does it need to wash his
it's
hands?
more just like an example of its dexterity, its capability. Incredibly impressive. Well, we've got someone to chat to about this. They have had one in their living room, and we can bring them in right now. I've been incredibly excited for this conversation. We're just checking if our guest is coming in. He is. Finn, how are we, mate? So good to see you. Thanks for joining us, and I'm guessing getting up pretty early as well.
Hey, yes. Thanks for having me. Very excited to be here. Yeah, joining you from a very early San Francisco, right in the living room, actually, where we just had the robot clean on Saturday.
No way. Can we see the bookcase has been doing the rounds?
Is it clean? How clean is the living room?
There's the famous bookcase.
It is pretty clean. That's the bookshelf over there.
That looks pretty clean.
It did a pretty good job. Honestly, it probably does a better job at cleaning than I can. So yeah, we've been very happy with our living room over the weekend. It's been better than the last week.
Nice clean living room.
So cool. Can you just break it down for us? Like, we had the video up of what does the robot look like, the cleaning service and the price itself. Can you walk us through like the booking of this robot and then the journey till it arrives at your house, when it comes in? Is it hands off? Like, just paint the picture a little bit.
Yeah, did you just go about your day off? Let it do its thing, let it cook.
Yeah. Very, very happy to walk you through. It was pretty straightforward. So I saw the demo, as you might have seen it as well on X, and I signed up for the waitlist. And pretty quickly, Cornelia reached out, and then we know each other a little bit from OpenAI back in the day. Then the robot came on Saturday at 3 p.m. We booked it for 1 hour. It was $30, as I said. There was nothing else involved in the booking process. And they rolled up. I think there were 2 people on the humanoid, and they set it up outside our door. And then it booted up, and it got up by itself, started walking right into the house. It had this little bag with like the cleaning supplies. And then it kind of just like grabbed the duster and like went to the shelf and did the dusting. And then it like later on did some vacuuming. It also like cleaned the countertop. It was pretty surreal, honestly. And Yeah, we were like a few too many people in the house at that point. I didn't think I told them beforehand. I just kind of like told my roommate Luke and a couple of friends about this, and they were all like, "Oh my God, I have to see this." So they also came along and watched the humanoid do its job. Yeah, it was very much like it was only the experience was a little bit like watching or like driving a Waymo for the first time.
Yeah.
So like the first couple of minutes are like, oh my God, there is, this new piece of technology doing insane things. And then after 2 minutes, you're like, oh yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, this
Standard.
is like obviously just doing its job, right? And has it ever been different?
With that in mind, then, did you felt comfortable with the robot in the room? What was that experience like? How did it act around everyone? Any signs of sentience?
Yeah, totally. No, I think it like the whole thing was like teleoperated, and like that's not a secret, right? Like I think that's like currently how you get these robots to be that actually useful. No, it was pretty chill. I think like again for the first couple of minutes you were a bit, worried or you kind of have a close eye at the robot, and then after a couple of minutes it's fairly normal and you can get close to it. You can I don't know if you should like push it, but you can definitely touch it or almost touch it if you want.
Yeah.
It's pretty like the humanoid. I think it's like a unitary robot, and at its base, it's a bit janky. So it sometimes like trips a little bit, and like sometimes it like does some.
Did it fall over at all or no? Was it just, it was
no.
pretty unproblematic?
Yeah. And like the interesting part is we also have like a robot vacuum cleaner at home, and it definitely did a better job at vacuuming, especially because of we have like a couple of carpets, and these carpets are like tricky for the little robot vacuum to go over, but the humanoid obviously doesn't have any problem. It does a very silly step. If there's like a little bump, it does like a comically large step to kind of like make sure it actually gets on the carpet or like gets over like a little curb. But it did a phenomenal job.
Yeah, that's so funny. Okay, so now you've had this experience, do you feel like the diffusion of these things, as they get better and better and better, you think normal people will have these in their houses pretty comfortably, like, pretty soon?
Yeah, I think, the question is all kind of about the data collection flywheel from these companies. Like, how much does it make sense? Like, how much is that data worth? And can they scale this in a somewhat efficient manner? And like we would definitely get the service again, probably at this price point. It's pretty kind of actually it does clean, and it's like also very fun to watch. I think everyone in our house also like takes Waymos and kind of enjoys this type of technology.
Sure.
And I think if that is useful to robotics companies, I kind of feel like it's a win-win, and I can see this kind of rolling out further. And then I think the long-term future is obviously that everyone's going to have a humanoid. The question is only like, when is this really going to become useful?
Yeah.
Is this going to work with teleop? Is this going to be lucrative by itself? And there's like a whole bunch of other robotics companies trying to aim for exactly that.
Yeah. Can I bring us back to just like the utility of this thing, like past the comedic value, past the entertainment value? How messy was the living room? And before it had arrived, have you guys maybe like moved a few things as well just to test it?
Did you deliberately make it?
Give it a bit of like an obstacle course, maybe in a way.
That's what I'd do.
And then also, what were the tasks that it did? Because I saw the shelf thing. You mentioned vacuuming. Like, what did it actually do?
Yes. No, it honestly did clean that. So we didn't really prepare much. I think we haven't vacuumed in a little while. So a robot had like an issue over the last like week or two. So it did a bunch of stuff that we didn't really prep for. And as I said, so like it started like with dusting the shelf. As I said, it had like a little baggie with all of its like cleaning supplies that it carried itself, which is hilarious.
So cute.
It did the shelf. It then went on with vacuuming. It did the countertop. And there was like one thing where like I would say there was a limitation still. So we had a bunch of plates on our countertop.
Okay.
And I think because it has like a gripper, right? It doesn't have like dexterous hands. It's just like this like
just those two kind of things are that, right? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So like we wouldn't trust it to like pick up a plate and like
Sure.
carry it over to the other countertop. I feel like that's like a high risk kind of action that I wouldn't want the robot to take.
Yeah.
But otherwise, like it like picked up the spraying bottle and like sprayed the countertop and like
Oh, wow,
picked
okay.
up the wipe and like wiped the countertop. It also at some point like took a chair that was at our countertop to like pull it backwards. So it did all of
Interesting.
these things by itself, and it worked pretty well. Obviously, it was a bit like a tiny bit slower than it was not as efficient as a real worker would have been. But it was like by far a lot better than a lot of the demos that you see online.
Yeah. How did it
Oftentimes,
get
of
to the-
course, from like fully AI versions.
Yeah. Sorry to cut you off, but how did it get to the countertop? Does it like because it's not hugely tall, is it? Or does it just stand on the floor and it kind of and it can wipe from the floor, get to the countertop, or does it have to go to a chair or how does it get there?
No. It is maybe like I don't know, like 5'2" or something.
Okay.
Or
Short
maybe,
king.
maybe it's not super tiny. So it can definitely reach the countertop. And yeah, like the robot itself, I think the base was like a Unitree. It was a modified Unitree G1, and it like maybe stands like I don't know 5'2", 5'3", and it's maybe like 40 kg or something. You can probably look up the specs better online, but it is tall enough to like do all the cleaning tasks that you would need to do in a house.
And in terms of, I know you mentioned like teleoperation. Was there any sort of guidance that you guys had to give, whether that's like a heads up to the team beforehand, or we wanted this, and this done, or was it just kind of robot comes in, teleoperation can just control what it focuses on, or can you communicate with it as well? That I guess would go via the teleoperation team, or.
Yeah, exactly. No, I think if you book it, you can check on their website what you want to have clean or what you want to have off limits. So you can check if you want to have your bathroom or your bedrooms cleaned. And then they were there, right? So like there's obviously like, people with the robot, and they're like in communication with the teleop person. And then you can just tell them whatever task is like more urgent, most urgent. So you can definitely pick with them, and yeah, they were pretty flexible. So we also kind of like said, oh yeah, this is like a thing we would want to have done. And I think the funny part is the person teleoping also just need to learn how to clean things properly or something. As in like probably right now like really good like vacuuming with the thing, but they might not as good as like some other niche like cleaning tasks.
They don't have the techniques down. They need the cleaning techniques down.
Yeah, exactly. They need to like properly learn, because it's probably some like some technical person who's like is better at coding at this point than cleaning. So they kind of need to skill up in those areas as well.
So interesting.
They need to upskill their AI engineers to get better at cleaning.
Yeah, there's some data they can buy.
That's so good.
Any plans to invite the sort of like centaur style chainsaw wielding robot that we saw over to the house anytime soon?
Yeah, that would be an amazing next step. We'd be open to have any form factor of robots to clean our living room. We'd be excited for that one to come out and for us to book.
Okay, amazing. And do you think you'll get rid of the current robot that you have cleaning the carpet if this becomes like you said you'd do it again? Is this going to become a frequent thing, and eventually you'll throw away the other robot that you had working?
Honestly, that might be the case. Yes.
Amazing. That's so good.
We really like our carpet, so like it did a way better job on that one.
It's so crazy. Okay, I know we're coming to the end, but like last sort of takes, like how would you rate the experience? Anything that you really liked, anything that you thought could have it maybe do with some improvement?
Yeah. No, I can definitely recommend it. And I think, we're like in these very early stages of seeing this technology roll out.
Yeah.
We are obviously, very tech forward and kind of want to see this thing develop. Obviously, I think Tao is a great company, and I think they're going to do great things. It was kind of an honor. I think we were their first customer.
Mm-hmm. That's cool.
So, that was kind of like be part of their journey as well. I can definitely recommend it. I think it's available for people in San Francisco or the Mission. And Mission area, can definitely recommend. I think it's like a fun thing as well in the first couple of times, and then I hope it also keeps improving and then kind of becomes more worth it over time. Yeah, I assume like in a couple of years it just will be the normal thing. And maybe allowing these into your home now will allow that to come sooner.
Amazing.
It seems that way. But last question before we let you go. What was it like seeing like the whole timeline could see your living room?
That's fine. You mean from like a privacy perspective, or?
Yeah, I saw a post from your housemate. It was like the whole timeline.
Oh,
is
yes.
like looking at
Oh,
our
yes.
living room right now.
That was
'Cause it was going
that
viral.
was very weird. No, yes, that was like it was way weirder than like having a humanoid and a robot having all these people tweet and meme about our living room. We just like woke up and there was
That's
like,
why I asked
all
about
these-
your bookcase, because I know what the bookcase, I've seen it so many times, and I
Yeah,
know
yeah,
what
yeah,
carpet
yeah,
you're
yeah.
talking about, and I can't see it right now, so it's very weird.
Yeah, we should put some affiliate links or something. I don't know. It was
Great idea.
it was surreal to like have our living room broadcasted. We also just like moved in a couple months ago. We like put the shelf up like I don't know 2 weeks ago, and like now all of a sudden everyone kind of knows how it looks like. But
That's so
I
funny.
don't know. Also a good story.
You've got the most famous
cool.
flat in SF now.
Yeah.
Congrats.
So cool.
Yeah, perhaps.
Amazing, man. Look, thanks so much for waking up early to speak to us. And when you have the robot in again, we'll get you back on to see if there's been any improvements.
Amazing.
Cheers,
Thanks, guys.
Finn. Have a
Good
good one,
stuff.
man. See you later.
See you soon. Can
Well,
do we have a minute just quickly to pull this tweet up that I'm on? Let's pull this. Let's go.
Is that Will Brown?
We can get what a banger, Will Brown. We can get the centaur style. What did you say? The chainsaw wielding robot with the towel robot as well.
Well,
doing its cleaning.
Finn says he's down.
If he needs to get
you
up
can
to
tag
the spinny thing, I can't remember what that's called.
Yeah.
Whatever that is,
ceiling fan.
the ceiling fan. Get the centaur involved.
I love it.
Anyway,
The chainsaw as well.
let's move on to our next
You
guest.
can bring Keval into the studio. I think Keval is waiting to go.
Here we go.
Hello, sir.
Oh, we can't hear you.
Can't hear you. Maybe
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
loud and clear, sir. How are you?
I'm well. How are you guys?
We're great.
Very good, thank you. Thank you for coming on the show. It's an honor to have you here.
Thanks for having me, and congrats on all your success and the recent growth financing. Well done.
That's very kind. Thank you. No, we're having a good time. We're live in our new studio as we speak, and yeah, we're having a blast as we say. But today's about you. Thank you for joining us. For those who maybe don't know who you are, do you want to just give us like an introduction to you, Shakti VC as well, and then we have a bunch of questions to get into.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Shakti VC, we are inception stage venture capital firm. We invest in startups that are, as we say, reimagining a toothbrush with AI. A toothbrush is a ubiquitous and frequent use case. So anything that touches hundreds of millions of people eventually, those are the things that we're interested in. Our portfolio is primarily in AI 3.0. This is the third wave of AI, which includes both digital and physical AI and includes both Earth and space. So that's the gamut of things we cover. And we're based in the US, San Francisco and New York, bi-coastal. My personal background before starting Shakti, I spent the last 3 decades in Silicon Valley. Came here as a computer scientist and built hardware and software products. I was an entrepreneur in the .com prehistoric era, and then got lucky to be part of companies like Google early on. Took all those lessons, eventually went to the dark side, started investing, having a lot of fun. Backing entrepreneurs as they're just getting started. So we're they're on day one and all the way through IPO.
Really cool, really
Nice,
cool. I mean,
nice.
straight away off the back, I have to ask, can we compare the .com era to what we're seeing right now? There have been takes in the past, but the companies that are betting big in terms of like capex spend are now starting to see considerable like revenue come back from these investments. So I'm not sure if where are we at now in terms of the parallels between these two eras?
Yeah, I think we're at the end of the beginning. If you think about the last 4 years in AI, starting with the launch of ChatGPT in 2022, I think they seem very similar to the mid 90s, if you will. And what I mean by that is if you think about what does it take for a big technological breakthrough to go from the lab to commercialization and impact society at scale, I think there are three ingredients that are part of that. The first is you have to have the technology be mass adopted, right? So Netscape did that for the internet with the Netscape IPO in 94. ChatGPT did that in 2022. Then you got to have a business model. Amazon did that for the internet with the 97 IPO, gave e-commerce as a monetization model for the net. Until then, it was just a publishing medium. Same thing happened with coding agents for AI. And then the third thing you need is, I think that technology has to become affordable and scalable so that people at large, consumers and businesses, can use that to transform their own lives and enterprises. And I think that's open source. The Linux movement, if you think about the Red Hat IPO in 97, really created the cloud computing era, which then over the next 20 years led rise to most of the big internet companies, including Google and Salesforce, and everything that came in the internet, sort of that's massive today, actually happened after the arrival of those three ingredients, right? Mass adoption, business model, and then open source. If you think about AI, the Linux movement of AI has just arrived with open models and open weights. So I think we're just at the beginning. The proprietary AI has what's led the wave so far, but real sort of mass adoption, commercialization, and the spread of AI through society is just starting to happen with the arrival of open source.
What do you feel that dynamic then looks like between open and closed source models? A lot of people are saying, we need proprietary models. I think Jensen Huang did an interview with Axios the other day, a day ago or 2 days ago, and said, proprietary models are really, really important, and we need, they're doing incredible work. What do you feel that dynamic will, how will that kind of move in the future? Is it going to be a 50-50 split? How, what do you think will happen between those two, use cases of AI?
Yeah, I think the answer is it's an and, not an or, meaning that we will have both of those. I mean, I compare it to the consumer market. Sometimes, when you think about the enterprises, actually enterprises are just a collection of people. So it's useful to look at consumer behavior. Sure. You look at like the handbag industry. There's a Chanel, but there's also a Kate Spade. I mean, if you think about how many handbags do you have? Well, there are many, and there's a use for each occasion. So nice. I think that AI is going to be the same way. If you're discovering a new drug, of course you want a frontier model, and you want to use all of that superpower, kind of like supercomputing, right? Even today, in 2026, we have supercomputers that some enterprises use, like for national defense and research and atomic physics, for example, quantum computing. But then we have day-to-day use cases. When you and I are using AI in our daily use, we don't need a supercomputer. We are fine with something that's affordable and scalable. It's in our pocket, like the iPhone, right? So I think the same thing is going to happen with AI, where I think enterprises and consumers are going to use open weight, low-cost, affordable models for day-to-day use cases, which are significant, that reach billions of people. And then when it comes to something highly specialized, we will go back to that superpower of proprietary models.
Yeah, it's kind of connected to, a trending topic right now was like the mathematical breakthroughs that were posted on the timeline. We were covering it earlier. What was your first reaction to this acceleration? What did you make of it?
I thought it was simultaneously impressive and not surprising. The thought that came to mind was, it's like, when we see a baby starts to speak in her mother tongue, and we're like, wow, that's so really cool. And at the same time, it's like, of course, that's going to happen. If you think about what is the foundation of AI, I mean, AI models, the current generation, they're all built on essentially the same architecture, which is a transformer architecture. Yeah. Transformers are matrix computation. So that is a language of mathematics. And if you think about mathematics in general, it's one of the most structured languages on planet Earth. It has symbols, it has a vocabulary, it has a syntax. And in fact, these symbols are well known universally. It means the same thing everywhere on planet Earth. So the fact that a model that was born with the language of mathematics can speak the language of mathematics and can extend it is not surprising. And so I think it's a very impressive achievement, but also to be expected. I think what would be surprising if that same model can actually schedule a group conference call amongst the four of us and get the time right across 3 multiple zones, right? I think that is still yet in our future.
That's the next benchmark.
Well, this is
the next benchmark. Yeah, I was wondering, all these benchmarks, why is it like scheduling a benchmark? Right?
This is interesting because we were saying earlier, like that, are there a bunch of other breakthroughs just waiting to happen at the current model capability that we just haven't discovered yet, right? I know we're pushing model capabilities further and further and further within those benchmarks, parameters that I guess the community has decided this is what classes as intelligence. But are there more things that we can sort of be using like either this model or the previous models to unlock these huge scientific discoveries?
Great question. I think it's like, a lot of times in Silicon Valley, in the tech community, we have this sort of internal dialogue that we have with ourselves, and we forget that there's a whole world out there. I mean, just to give you one example, I'm typically based in San Francisco, but I'm in New York right now. And when I walk the streets of New York or talk to entrepreneurs here, the discussions are very different because it's all about the application of this technology, not just technology itself. So I do think that there are applications, even at the current capabilities. One very simple example that's going to have a profound impact is reskilling, right? Think about what's happening with the labor force. And I think that this is why we think that AI is really a bloom story, not a gloom story. Because think about what happened to the human civilization over the last few hundred years. In the Renaissance, everyone was as an entrepreneur. We were all self-owned businesses. And we could have a trade craft or a skill, and we could make a living for ourselves. And then about 150 years ago, this whole idea of assembly line came along, where every human being was told, well, you have a hammer, all you can do is hit a nail, right? Yeah. I think that AI is going to unlock the modern renaissance where we all become entrepreneurs instead of employees. And I think it's going to help us reduce inequality because this difference between the owner of the capital stock and the labor is going to disappear. Now, how does that happen? The first step in that is reskilling so that all of us, no matter who we are, whether we're a carpenter or electrician or student or mathematician, we can all learn to use AI for common tactical skills. So there are companies out there today that are using the current capabilities of these AI models to teach people how to reskill, right? Whether it's building a website, whether it's scheduling a calendar, whether it's building a little app that allows you to get more business through your phone. All of these tactical steps that are being done today outside of Silicon Valley by entrepreneurs who are using AI to help the rest of humanity. I think those are the kind of things we should be talking more about. And I think these things are happening, and you guys are doing a great job of bringing those stories on your show. So I think that's what we should be focusing on.
Yeah. Well, cool. I appreciate that. I wanted to ask then about, an influx of people being able to create things, doesn't matter where you are in life, age-wise or industry. What then makes companies or kind of a collective, whether that's a community or whatever it is, what makes a company kind of durable? If there's so much out there, as you're saying, the future looks like less people will be maybe in a job, they'll be running a company or starting something. What kind of brings durability? Where is that in that conversation?
Yeah, I think. Look, if you look at again, we can look at history and say what brands or what teams have been durable through society for decades, right? Yeah. And I think it comes down to really sort of two things. If you look at the history of brands like an Apple or a Nike or even some of these, Chanel, Gucci, these historic luxury brands, anything, politicians, leaders, societies. Democracy, for example, has had a great run for over 100 years. I think it comes down to two things: authenticity and a community that's really genuinely there, aligned on the mission. So authenticity to me is the hallmark of a great brand and longevity, right? And what it comes down to is just knowing who you are, expressing that in an authentic way. As you said, in a world of tremendous noise, the only thing that people really care about and gravitate to is this authentic signal. So I think producing your own signal, the opportunity now is that all 7 billion of us can have our own signal. And it used to be that, everybody had an intuition or a point of view, but it was hard to get that out. How do you get your voice out? How do you get your signal out? Well, guess what? Now with AI, I'll give you a crazy story. I was in Manhattan last week, Midtown, walking into this fancy JP Morgan building, talking to a senior executive. We're having lunch. Within 3 minutes, she launched a website just talking to her phone using AI. She's a golf fan. And she wanted to launch a golf website. We said, let's just do it now. In 3 minutes, talking to her phone, she was able to create a golf website using AI. So that's an example of a signal that somebody can project into the world. So authentic signal. And the second thing is community. Look, nothing happens. Everything is a team sport. Life is a team sport. Entrepreneurship is a team sport. Venture capital is a team sport. You can't do it alone. So I think having people who rally behind you, having a community, I think those are the two signals.
Really cool.
Definitely.
Really cool. Cool answer. I know we've got 2 minutes left, so maybe the last question we'd love to hear. You mentioned that this is the end of the beginning. Where should investors be looking in this AI rush that we're seeing now? Like, what are you most excited about? Where is the next multiple going to be made? Yeah, where's the alpha at?
Yeah, I think we look at so two things. One is we think that just in the last 60 days, something interesting has happened. Two things have happened. One is this SpaceX IPO, right? Which we think is similar to the Amazon IPO in '97. If you think about Amazon's IPO, there were 3 e-commerce companies that went public before the Amazon IPO, and then 300 after that. So it was it's going to open up this massive market. So SpaceX IPO, I think, is that moment where it's opening up this huge industry over our planet in the low Earth orbit. And tons of startups are going to now follow through and create commercialization opportunities. So we have some examples of that. We have an investment in a company that's building a robot for garbage collection in space. Turns out garbage collection, toothbrush use case, garbage is a problem on Earth and in space. You need somebody to collect it. So that's an example of a company that's now getting enabled because the cost of launching things in space has come down. So space is a big area of focus. The other is what we said earlier, which is this idea of open source AI. So I think AI 3.0 to us means it's not just digital, it's digital and physical, right? And physical AI, this is the exciting thing about AI bigger than the internet. The internet really only transformed our digital lives, but AI is digital and physical. So the whole world is getting transformed. So that's an exciting thing. And it's getting cheaper to deploy AI because of open weights. It's getting automated. You don't have to sit in front of an AI and prompt it. And it's becoming agentic. So we think that those two areas are the key inflection points for the next decade. Space and AI 3.0, agentic, open source, and automated. That's what we're focused on.
Great answer.
Really cool. We are at time. Keval, thank you so much for joining us. It's been awesome. We'd love to have you back as well. Thoroughly enjoyed the conversation.
Anytime, guys. Good luck and congratulations on all your success.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate you. Thanks for your time, man.
Hex, the AI analytics platform where trust meets insight. Hex helps teams of all sizes by giving teammates the ability to get insights from their data. Go to hex.tech. Next on the show, we have Nick himself. He's flying in. You can hear him. Are we?
Nick's
can't see him.
He'll be joining us very shortly. We're here. Let me just tell you about our friends over there at MetaView. MetaView, it's AI agents for winning teams, the agentic recruiting platform built for the radically efficient hiring end-to-end, source, engage, and hire better with agents that truly get your brief. Go to MetaView.ai to do that. Next on the show we have joining us shortly is Nick. He will be joining
anon guest
anonymously. Our first ever anonymous guest was Grit Cult, but I think we're bringing Nick into the studio and he is live. Nick, how's it going? Welcome to the European Technology Network.
Yo. What's going good, guys?
What's up, man? It's a pleasure to have you here. It's good that we can make this happen.
Yeah, I mean, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. I think you guys are just a joy to watch. Great energy. I used to live in the UK myself, in London, so
it's
really good to
is that breaking news?
Hear good accents.
Is that breaking news? Nick used to live in London. When are you coming back, man?
I'll come to visit for sure.
Come through.
I mean, I've lived in Yeah, we'll do. We'll let you know.
Well, we've got loads to jump into. Timeline was in Pandemonium. We've been covering a bunch of it today with the maths breakthroughs, conversations around existential dread from mathematicians, but also incredibly positive. This is a crazy thing. $2,000 in API credit and managed to solve 10 of the world's hardest mathematical problems, theoretical physics problems. Do you want to just give us your sort of high-level take? What have you been seeing on the timeline? I saw that you reported on it as well. What do you think this means in terms of the acceleration we're seeing?
I mean, the acceleration is not going to stop, that's for sure. Yeah. Especially in domains like math or code, where things are verifiable. If you look at like how OpenAI, their methodology to actually solve, those proofs, they relied on a really good RL signal that they got from Lean. That's basically a proof checker. So what the model is doing, and OpenAI actually did invest, a lot of their resources into getting, mathematicians. I guess like Terence Tao is also helping them out to, build really good foundations. And having a model, do such breakthroughs is deliberate, is intentional. It's not like magical that the model is just smart and it's learning. No, they actually trained it to, become, be able to generate hard proofs, and then, it's running it through Lean. That's verifying it. If it's right, great. If it's wrong, it's running it again. And, just that process over and over again is, leading to, sort of like newer connections, or if you want to call it discovery, that's great as well. But, you just mentioned like the $2,000, like if you know about Alpha Proof by DeepMind, a couple of months ago, they did the same thing. And they solved like 9 Erdos problems. I think like each problem cost just a couple of $100. So,
this is, sorry, go on.
Yeah, no.
I was going to say, this is interesting because like how we had a conversation around like the strategic nature of this, right? Like if you looked at it outside looking in, I guess, how the timeline reacts. If you were to choose something specific, like you mentioned there, it's not necessarily like discovery, it's more pointing resources at a particular thing that would make noise. Is that the gist of kind of like your position?
No, actually, I think like the line between discovery and, making connections is getting blur and blur every day. If you think about it, if something hasn't been able to advance in, decades or maybe 100 years, it's actually some form of discovery, I would say. Or you can just call it advancement in, particular set of problems that actually result in, like this second order or third order effects, in other subdomains. So, it is actually leading to, a form of like this renewal discovery. We're not relying on mathematicians to come around once in a century, to, have a miracle. What's actually happening is like the cost of generating hard proofs is just going down. So we're able to, we used to find mathematicians special because there's so less of them, and them working all their lives to get to a certain point. Now, we're just accelerating that whole thing. We have just, tremendous intelligence on top of mathematicians, and it's just accelerating all of that forward. So I think it's such an exciting time for mathematics, because just like code, or like just like software engineering, like their job isn't to write code, their job is to write problems, and they take pride, in this. And the same with math. Like I don't think the problem for the job for mathematicians is to write proofs or come up with arguments. It's actually just being creative, exploring unexplored territories. It's kind of like philosophy if you think about it, because like math is like fundamentally the foundation of all sciences, or the domain of all languages. So there's like a lot to just explore there, and if you're a mathematician and that excites you, I think it's the greatest time.
Yeah, I
the
think
timeline is a bit doomer, but
yeah. That's what I think the discourse on the timeline has kind of almost said otherwise. I think you're right. I agree with you. Do you think that there needs to therefore be, almost like a shift of how maybe mathematicians see this? I think when coding started to really get, when models started to really get good at coding, there was a little bit of discourse, but I think that, coders saw this almost as like an opportunity to get more creative, as you're saying, right? And You know, there was a few posts where it's like, hey, like the creative process for me was actually the writing of the code. That was what I enjoyed most. But I think the main consensus was this is a positive thing, and this is a great shift for engineering. Do you feel like mathematicians need to maybe like you know, kind of change the way that they're thinking about this shift? It's, you know, it's obviously coming, and it's going to get more and more, as you mentioned right at the beginning. So yeah, I'm interested in your thoughts.
Sure. Yeah, I think like, you know, I actually personally don't believe in advice, you know, so I don't want to be someone who tells mathematicians, you know, how to think, but it's just like, if you just zoom out and look at progress happening, you know, you can go all the way back to just, you know, the discovery of writing. You know, what it actually did was it allowed you to sort of like allow your thinking to become externalized, and that becomes sort of like a phenomenal experience that can be experienced by other people. And so you're basically democratizing thinking. So we're democratizing mathematics here, and it's not like math is cooked or math is over. If you read you know, how OpenAI actually did their work, you know, humans were involved in actually checking the arguments, in sort of like translating it a little bit. Not all problems were checked by Lean. A lot of problems were checked by humans. So if you think about, well, I like to think about it in this way, that there's like 3 domains, which is like intelligence, and then there's smartness, and then there's like wisdom. So intelligence is the ability to, you know, come up with, you know, on the fly, new models, new way of thinking, new way of solving problems. Smartness is more goal oriented. It's the ability to, you know, meet goals that you set for yourself. But then wisdom is where the interesting part is. It's like, how do you know what goals to set, right? Which problems to solve? And I think like that's, you know, where mathematicians come in, is, you know, their wisdom allows them to set the goals for the AI that does the problems.
Yeah.
And I think we're sort of in the era of borderline smartness and intelligence. You know, at the end of the day, it's humans who are directing, you know, the AI systems, at least for now. And that itself should be exciting.
It's a good point.
Yeah, really cool. So like, you know, in a way, the human just kind of sitting on that, kind of like managing the orchestration layer beneath it of, you know, multiple agents. What was fascinating me earlier, and we were chatting about it a little bit on the show, was you know, it's almost like the coding kind of being solved was the first hint of like how do human beings react to maybe their you know, something that they've been doing for their whole life. It becomes easier to do that thing. How do humans react? I thought that was really interesting to look at how people were reacting and showing their emotion on the timeline. And we're seeing a similar story now with coding in general. Like, do you feel that this type of not saying solves, but like this type of leap in the capabilities of solving things within that specific vertical will start coming for other industries?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we're in the singularity, if you think about it. What is the singularity? It's you know, just it's you know, it's accelerating change. You know, we're going through this period of change that is changing at an accelerating rate, and it's going faster, right? The cost of, like, you know, like what Turing basically said is, you know, it's like, oh, okay, the human mind, if it's all it's doing is computations, you know, which is what, you know, AI is doing as well. You know, so right now the cost of computation is also going down per dollar, and that's compounding as well. So, you know, nobody can stop this pace of change, and you know, it does feel like that for our present minds, like, I don't know if it's like sort of that's what basically the singularity is. It's hard for us to see the future that's beyond the capability of our own intelligence. So it's like, we don't know what's going to happen. So, you know, it's not a boom, you know, it's not an intelligence explosion, but it's a accelerated change that we haven't seen in centuries. And it's just something to accept and understand what the change is, what it means. It's not like math is over. It's like, no, the cost of generating hard arguments and verifying it's just going down. So you can actually have a lot of trial and error, and that sort of like increases your probability in the search space to just find a connection or discover something that hasn't been. So it's sort of like the age of exploring more that you haven't.
Yeah.
Closer to the singularity than ever, right? The age of exploring.
Well, Nick says we are in
Yeah.
the singularity.
Welcome. What's the temperature like?
Yeah, yeah. This is interesting. I think maybe the first guest to openly say that. We've seen hints from some of the lab leaders and the usual candidates, Musk, Zuck, Altman,
Sama,
Dario. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anything from Mensch, to be fair, but
Guy's quiet.
that we either are in the singularity or we are like basically nearly there. When do you think we'll get to a point of universal agreements, if we ever can?
Well, I don't know. It actually comes down to how you define it. To be fair, I personally, I like to think about that. Hey, every day is a new singularity because I don't know what's going to happen, right? I can't predict what's going to happen today or what's going to happen tomorrow. So if you really think about it, tomorrow is a singularity, a new day is a singularity.
Yeah.
But, on a universal scale, I personally side with how Demis likes to frame it, Demis Hassabis. Like Alpha Proof, literally a couple of months ago did solve, 9 Erdos problems. They have, this model called Alpha Proof Nexus, I think. It doesn't mean, the way he says it is like, it's like, hey, this is not pure discovery. This is still, human directed, human checked. There's a lot of humans in the loop. So we haven't sort of closed the RSI loop with math. But we're sort of at the, did he say foothold? I like to say the door to singularity. Yeah, we're at the door, sort of at the event horizon, where we know that superhuman intelligence is coming, and it will be hard to predict. But when is it coming? I don't know. It really, even if we get AGI, is that the singularity? We are, as a human, as a collective, we're sort of like AGI. We're AGIs. If you believe we're general intelligent, we have general intelligence. So will things change dramatically? But things will keep accelerating. That's sort of that's what I think Kurzweil tries to portray with singularity. It's the pace of change will just accelerate to a point where when then things become sort of unpredictable. And that's where all the doomers also love this argument. They like to frame this as more like a foam where they're things would just go out of hand because if we close the loop with recursive self-improvement, and what that means is AI is building the next AI. So how do we ensure that human values are encoded inside the AI? Right?
Yeah.
How do we know, something like Skynet doesn't come out. Skynet, what is Skynet? It's actually, that's the perfect way to understand doomer argument is they built Skynet. The goal was defend the nation. Skynet, had this emergent property of self-awareness, and it's in order for me to save the nation, and humans want to shut me down. So what's in my way to meet my goal is to eradicate humans, and then, I'll be alive and I can meet my goal. Mm-hmm. So, it's how do we ensure that we can encode human values, which is I don't know how to do that. And even if we do somehow, Anthropic is doing great work there, how do we make sure that the AI system is not just lying to us? It's just deceiving, I'm aligned, and then once it reaches certain capability, it's becomes Skynet or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, so just like the accelerated change is like so anxious, how it would play out. I personally don't think we're gonna have an intelligence explosion, in that way. I think it's gonna be more like a gradual, accelerated pace of change until a point where we get like probably like robots working, and then we'll see things really happening pretty fast.
I think
I can't predict after that.
I think you mentioned the kind of like not benchmarks, but you need to define what the singularity means, or what reaching AGI is, right? And I think part of that is the diffusion into kind of normal life as well, right? Like that's why kind of physical AI is so hot right now, because there is genuine kind of diffusion of robots cleaning your house. We just had someone on who had that for the first time in their apartment in SF, and so do you feel like that kind of plays a part in that? Because obviously we're in our kind of tech bubble. We don't really, diffusion into normal life is definitely a part of that. But you're saying it's kind of gradual. Do you think that could be like a flick of the switch of like, okay, AI is fully diffused into everyday life for every single human on Earth? That is the singularity potentially.
Well, actually, that's actually an interesting question, because it sort of depends on how you see the future, right? I think like there could be like many possible futures how AGI plays out. You could have what we're experiencing right now is like sort of like centralization, where few labs are in control. They're like, hey, we would decide what's harmful and harmless, but we'll keep the harmful tools with us, and we'll give out the sort of like the harmless AGI, to the masses. That's a different future than versus like sort of like something decentralized, which is more towards like, hey, open weight models. Hey, everyone gets their own AGI, and we sort of not let one centralized entity control that, but we let we allow a new structure to form, just like humans cooperate with each other, like that. And maybe like there's more possible futures. The one I like personally is sort of like an extension of your own consciousness. So like you are, using the AI, and we're seeing it right now. Like, the AI has memory. It sort of feels like an extension of your thoughts and your beliefs, and it's helping you right there. So imagine a future where everyone gets their own AGI, instead of like getting a UBI, like universal basic income. You can get like universal basic intelligence, and you all become competent. And imagine a future where every human on Earth is competent, is able to solve their problems, is able to make sense of reality, is able to participate in many ways. Like that would definitely accelerate, how we see possible futures of where humans are now and where humans could be with such technology in everyone's hands. So things could play out in any way, and I think like we got to make sure to promote the future that we want to see. And there's like, even like with EU, for example, so like with physical robotics, like why don't we just look at like compute? Ultimately, in order to run robots, sure, you need chips, but you also need energy, you also need compute. It depends how you're is it edge compute, cloud? With the EU, like I personally think like it's possible you can build a dumb AGI as well, where all it does is, instead of empowering people, you could possibly just harden current systems, right? Current systems, bureaucracy gets new tools. There's more layers.
That's what the EU
more
Commission's doing,
politicians are
isn't
in
it?
control. I mean, I think like even that particular thing on the timeline, like the phrase like Europe regulates, America innovates. I don't know. I mean, that's one way to look at it. But I don't think like that part's that scary. I think what's more scary is just like the comparison of flops. How many flops or computers coming online in EU versus the United States, and what does that mean? You know, if you actually, if you think like, oh, AI is going to be you know, very important in national security and defense, or like someone like Leopold, for example, he has a hedge fund. Think about it. Let's say he has more compute than all of Europe. He could game the shit out of European markets. You know, how do you defend against that? So, yeah, I mean, I think like, you know, what's important is to like really understand the amount of energy that's we're able to generate and the amount of compute that's coming online. That's sort of determining, you know, what possible future will play out and who's going to get the capabilities, even with robotics or drones.
Yeah. That's a fascinating answer. The UBI, AGI stuff as well, really interesting. Going back to something you mentioned
universal
earlier.
basic intelligence.
Yeah, that's sick. That's actually sick. I haven't heard that before. Going back to something you mentioned earlier, we wanted to get your take on the Hugging Face OpenAI thing. Like you mentioned Skynet, you mentioned like emerging properties from intelligence, so, you know, definitions of however we want to perceive that. What did you make of the Hugging Face incident with OpenAI? Is that a sort of red herring in terms of like what? Is this a hint to what we will see in the future? Was this like the first break where we should be like a little bit cautious? Like obviously off the back of the Mythos stuff, and now we're kind of seeing like, oh well, my company hacked like 5 companies, so like your model sucks. Like we're having like a hack off now between. I saw a hilarious meme of Zuck like on the phone. He's like, get one of our models to do something illegal immediately, which is funny. But yeah, what do you make of the situation?
Yeah, I think. Sorry, I think my alarm's going off. Let me go to. Yeah, I think like the Hugging Face incident is basically, you know, what they did is like they're like, hey, you know, they gave the model, you know, less guardrails, allow it to, you know, do the things that they wouldn't allow it to do, and then they're like, you know, go and try to, you know, infiltrate or hack this company. And then the model hacks the company, and you're like, oh my god, you know, the model just hacked the company. Yeah, well, you told it to do that, you know, on purpose, you know, and you're just like, oh, we just discovered we accidentally gave it access to the internet. This is not open. This is Anthropic. You know, they had like apparently like in their harness, they you know, they mistakenly gave it, you know, open internet access. Like, cool. But with OpenAI, it's a little bit more interesting because it actually found like a exploit in, I can't remember the name. You know, it's found an exploit where, you know, the model did actually get access to the internet. So, you know, there's many messages that's going through that. One of is like, hey, you know, a possible future is like, let us control the future because we understand the problem and we're, you know, our capabilities are better than other people. But at the same time, like I actually abide by what Clem says from Hugging Face is like, hey, no, let you know, let open models improve and allow that to become sort of like a defensive capability. And you know, so there's always a battle of this. This is nothing new, by the way. It's like humans are trying to hack other humans all the time. Humans, you know, in a group are trying to hack, you know, other corporations all the time. How do you defend against that? Well, you know, make sure you have your capabilities better than hackers because, and you actually need it like probably 10 times better because, you know, you know, a hacker just needs literally one door to come in and you need to like, you know, manage like all the doors and make sure like, you know, all of them are safe. So how do you solve that? I don't know. Do you need one AI to, you know, defend your whole company, or do you need, you know, multiple AIs at different checkpoints? You know, you have them, you know, securing your system. Like you know, this is the possible future we we would like to see is how do we collectively do that? And I think like open weight models is the way to go. The best way is to allow people to have their own defenders themselves and fine tune it for themselves.
Yeah.
And not being reliant on a company. But they both exist in my worldview, open weights and closed models, and and the whole structure of how defending and attacking works. It's going to change.
Yeah, super interesting. I know we've got about 1 minute left. We have the Minister of AI coming on next. Sorry, we've actually run over by 10, I've realized, but we're having a great time, and I'm very happy we did. We've got the Minister of AI coming on in 1 minute. Anything you want to hear from the Minister? Any questions we can pass on from UNIK?
Well, I actually, woke up this morning and I went on his profile. I didn't know who he was. And, I see they're investing in like chips, this company, I don't even know the name. Yeah, Olex. Probably great work. But I personally like to see, from the UK, like more in terms of like, not trying to like compete with NVIDIA or something, just to be a little bit grounded. The market cap of NVIDIA is bigger than the GDP of the United Kingdom, right? So, might as well just, that's just a fact. Like, just might as well just get NVIDIA chips as much as you can, and just get as much energy that you get on can get online, and just get humbled in that way. I don't know if that's the best way to just, because like, to be very honest, and I'll probably leave at this, is I think like politicians have like short timelines. They're just thinking like election cycle to election cycle. Whereas if you look at Elon or someone else, they sort of look at longer timelines, civilization scale timelines. I would like to see more of, that point of view coming out. So, investing in startups is cool. But, let's invest in core infrastructure, because that's the, compute is the capital, compute is the currency, energy is sovereignty, and, having both of them together will sort of determine, what you can actually do with your country. Same goes with the, European Union.
Definitely. Well, look, Nick, thanks so much for your time. We appreciate it, man.
One of my favorite today.
Yeah, fascinating.
Thank you so much for jumping on.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. I really appreciate it, and I look forward seeing you guys, killing it. I love, UK accents, so it's a joy to listen to you guys. I find American accents a little bit boring. It's like, so yeah. I mean, keep up. You guys are classy. I love it.
Appreciate it, man.
Love to see it.
Yeah, you're a legend. Right, we'll see you soon.
Cheers, Nick. Ciao.
All right, guys.
Good stuff.
Thanks.
Quickly, before we have our next guest on, OLX, leave our data business back in behind with OLX, the all-in-one financial platform built for the pace of modern business. Multi-currency accounts, corporate cards, expense management, online payments, all-in-one platform. Get it at olx.com. Let's bring Mr. Kanishka into the studio if we can. Oh, he's not here.
We are waiting for Minister Kanishka to come into the studio. He will be joining us very shortly.
Polymarket, the world's largest prediction market. Stay informed and profit from your knowledge. Go to polymarket.com. Nice. That was a fascinating conversation. Let's just deep
That was really good. That was really fun.
What a legend, man. What a legend.
Also, maths and philosophy. Boom.
I knew you were going to say that.
Love it. You can watch this back. You can see my face like light up. The universal,
that was me.
Generative, universal based general intelligence. It's actually really interesting. Perspective on what does a future of AGI look like, and a very interesting one in which if you ever were able to sell the masses on them buying into AI in general, right? Like, it's going to be tough with Eric Schmidt getting booed off stage at Arizona State University for just talking about AI.
Yeah.
Like, he's got an arena full of arena full of Gen Zers. Just they don't even want to hear him. They don't even want to listen. They don't even want to hear the argument. He mentions AI and they're just boom. And he's sympathizing with them as well. Like, he was saying like, oh, it must be really tough to be in your position. Like, it seems like it's a threatening thing, and like, yes, some jobs are being replaced, but it's it's going to be really fun. Just boo him out of the room. One of the greatest entrepreneurs of all time.
I think it was pretty ignorant though. His speech was pretty ignorant.
Oh, you thought, really?
I think so. Well, some of the clips were very much so of I can't exactly remember what he was saying, but I remember thinking, "Whoa, that's you're playing with fire there, sir."
Yeah, but I thought.
But then again, he is probably one of the most. He has to be one of the most AGI pilled human beings.
Oh yeah. He's pilled out his mind.
Exactly.
I think he may have been a speciesist as well, as in like push the frontier past, regardless of its impact on. I need to check if it is him actually before, but yeah. There's that part in Sebastian Malavy's book, The Infinite Machine, where it's a conversation between, I think it's Eric Schmidt and Elon Musk.
Yeah.
And Musk was actually opposing his thought process of species being like, oh, I think that the development of AI trumps everything in terms of like, if that's the natural path of intelligence, it should pass on into like a robotic future or some sort of like next vehicle or carrier of that intelligence past the human body. If the human body has, it's an expiry date on it, then we should pass
Survival
that intelligence on and whatnot. But interesting, but interesting nonetheless. We can just pull up the bangers of the day. Actually, let me just find some stuff that we got in the docket. I did want to get up comms win of the week.
Let's do it. Let's get up comms win of the week.
So this is from the ClickHouse CEO responding. This is publicly responding to a customer having a small support issue. CEO of ClickHouse coming in on time and saying, very sorry for the negative support experience at Sam Lambert at Gale25. Please connect with Sam to see if we can turn things around and what other issues they are facing. If not, let's make sure their migration to the team over at Tinybird, one of their competitors, is successful. Great to see that they'll continue to be using ClickHouse in either scenario. It's like two competing products, but under the ClickHouse conglomerate. The incident in January was resolved in 30 minutes, but was a complex issue that took time to fully RCA. I agree that it took longer than it should have to produce the full report. CEO on timeline.
If you go down to Sam Lambert's
requests.
comment as well, 10 days from an RCA. Sorry, you read it because I can't.
10 days for an RCA of a managed service is unacceptable. Our team pulls all-nighters to return RCAs as quickly as possible. Aaron Katz says, I agree. With that said, this was one of the more complex issues we've dealt with. These are the complex systems. The full RCA was 10 pages long, below is the summary. We are grateful to have you as a customer. It's wonderful validation when a database company builds on our platform, but we know you have other options and will support your migration if that's the path that you choose. Congrats of the week to Aaron Katz over there at ClickHouse.
Indeed,
he's doing a great job.
That was very. I think this thing go direct to your customers. Even like the first tweet and then the comment were from Sam Lambert was equally as like fiery, right? It was very had nothing and then goes direct again and says
double direct.
And just gives more kind of evidence as to why he's doing a good job.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's very clever.
Great work. We can bring up another banger of the day.
Let's talk about the tech leader debate on the decline of everyday design beauty. This was Patrick Collerton, CEO of Stripe. He sparked a discussion on why many everyday objects and buildings today look uglier than their historical versions, from ornate facades to simple phone kiosks. He praised the Works in Progress mag essay linking post-war modernism architecture to public backlash. NIMBY movements and housing shortages surveys show strong public preference from traditional styles, with images highlighting lost charm. Through some note, modern interiors offer practical benefits amid a mix of opinions on blended old and new. And you can see his tweet here. Ironically, someone commented and said, "You're talking about design, and look at how you've structured your essay absolutely awfully." I think it's actually the top one. It was great. It was Ollie Lehman. Great post. But this post formatting is also an aesthetics violation, LMAO. Great comment from our friend Ollie Lehman. Comparing phone boxes from back in the day to now, we have lost a lot of this, which is very, very, very true. I'm not going to read all of it, but go and read it. It was actually very interesting.
Very nice. We can bring up. There was something. I'm getting word now live that we have Kanishka in the waiting room, so we will.
Let's bring him in.
We'll start with the tweets. Let's bring the Minister of Artificial Intelligence onto the European Technology Network. This is Kanishka's third time on the show. Mr. Minister, how are you, sir? It's good to see you again.
Hey, great to see you guys. And can I foremost start by congratulating you on a massive, massive milestone. It's my third time. I remember the first time, and you guys were already smashing it then. But it's a huge milestone for both you and for the ecosystem as a whole. So massive congrats.
Appreciate it. That's really nice of you.
That's very kind of you. And a massive congrats to you too. It looks like things are going incredibly well. We have so many questions to discuss, and I think 3 separate topics as a whole. Maybe for the start, well, let's talk about the breaking news. Let's talk about the news that came out. This was breaking news this morning. Well, why don't you share it? It's probably better coming from the horse's mouth.
Well, I'm really excited. I'm hoping you're talking about the same bit of news, but the biggest news of the day is, of course, OLX
yes,
and James.
Indeed.
Of course.
Significant fundraise, very materially increasing their valuation, raising over $300 million as well. Look, James for over the last year. And there's a bunch of stuff we should get into, which is why the thesis is really critical. The future of AI, focus on inference, requires different sets of chips, and why what he's building is really critical. But the biggest thing, which is common between what you are doing and what some of us have been trying to do in government, is a recognition that Europe has unparalleled talent.
Yeah.
And James and the team are extremely unique. And all of us know that, especially in frontier tech, the thing that drives outcomes is the quality of talent. And so I think it's a recognition of what James is as a leader and what the team is like at OLX as well. So I'm absolutely delighted for them. I think it's going to be a huge part of the UK and European story in the future.
Incredible. Yep. Can you give us an inside look into the team? And I'm sure you've met them at least a few times. And just give us what is it like on the ground at OLX? How are they operating that's making them just so successful?
Yeah. Well, a couple of things. One, everyone who's met James knows that he has, he is achingly young. It makes feel crazy. This guy's 25. It's a second company. He's, I think, now raised almost $1 billion.
So crazy.
The age that he's at. But the first thing you notice is a clarity of conviction that is extremely unique. He has a very contrarian thesis. I think there weren't that many people saying we're going to build photonics interconnects innovation to be able to solve the next generation of problems for inference. James has a clarity of conviction that is extremely unique. Second, he's a force of nature. I remember every time I feel like my sort of bullshit radar is pretty alert to the fact that he's going to catch me if I say something that's not true. And so I'm on high alert when I speak to James. And thirdly, the combination of those things means that the pace of execution for these guys is unbelievable. I remember when I first met James and over the last year, so many people said to me, there's technical risk here that is unusual given its photonics in particular. Second, that the pace at which they can actually tape out, have the first set of chip designs out and ready for live testing is going to be very long lag. And so you're waiting a long time to solve the technical risk. Then he comes out, raises extremely significant amounts of capital, builds an amazing team, and is going to tape out this year. It's a pace of thing in a space that takes a long time, which is radical. And so I'm really excited to see what he has done already in the time that I've known him, and I think it bodes incredibly well for where he'll go.
Really cool, really, really cool. We're huge fans of James. I've been hounding him today on X, but I know he's very busy. I know his head is down.
You can help us get him on the show. That'd be
one
lovely.
one day we'll make it happen. He's juggling two like frontier companies at the same time at the age of 25. I think when I was 25, I was playing Call of Duty in my room. So no doubt he has bigger fish to fry right now, which is absolutely fine. If you could, Kanishka, could you give us an update on the DSIT as well and the rebrand and everything that's going on around this? We spoke to a few people about it. It looks like it's moving in the right direction. Would be good to get your position on it. Like what is actually happening internally? What should the people be aware of? Yeah.
Like the first thing to say is I'm conscious that a lot of people in the tech ecosystem felt that there was a sign of tech not being taken seriously. Let me firstly assure them that that is not the case. And so the budgets and teams that are working on AI that I was overseeing at DSET, those are still the same people and those are still the same budgets that are still working with me in a combination of BISC, the new department, and then the right center of government working with the Prime Minister and me as well. And so the first thing to say is that everything that was before continues to exist.
Great.
But the second thing to say is that my core conviction, and I think you guys share this as well, is that especially when you're talking about what actually drives outcomes, it's never the structure of big organizations. It's always the agency of specific individuals. And what I feel very strongly is more empowered at the center of government, directly with the Prime Minister's blessing, that this is so important it deserves a seat at the cabinet table. And we're going to be trying to make sure that we're bringing the very best, as we've done with James and Suzanne at Sovereign AI and Josephine, as we've done with AC, as we've done with Aria, right across the board. We're going to bring the very best talent in the world and in this country to bear on the most important question for us, the future of AI. And so the thing that I would encourage everyone to look at is the quality and agency of the individuals involved, rather than overly kind of worrying about the structure of what is the organizational walls that you might be building or breaking. I feel generally extremely empowered and very fired up for doing as much as we were doing before, and then adding a few more moonshot bets on top of it.
Yeah. And practically, what does in on the inside, what does that look like? We haven't actually said congratulations on on your new role. How does that allow you to have more impact on the mission that you're on, and that we're all supporting you for?
Look, I think the biggest thing is the core decisions of the country get made at the cabinet table on Tuesdays, most weeks on Tuesdays, and that's when every single cabinet minister gets around the table with the Prime Minister.
Yeah.
At the first cabinet meeting, the Prime Minister turned to me and he said, as a recognition of AI's centrality to this country, I want Kanishka to be at this table every single week to talk about how every element, whether it's energy, whether it's defense, whether it's healthcare, whatever education and skills, whatever we're talking about, that AI has a voice at that table.
Incredible.
So I think for one, it's a recognition of the importance in every part of our country that this is going to be an important question. But second, if you think about what really drives outcomes in AI, it's going to be how we can work together to build the energy and the planning needed for AI to be supported. It's going to be how we are building drones, counter-drone defense systems with AI as well. It's going to be about how we're making sure that young people are now getting the jobs when maths is being done by AI, how we create a role for young people to do and learn maths, but in a way that is distinctly human. All of those questions rely on every other member of the cabinet table playing their part as well. And so my focus now is, yes, execute on the thing that I'm responsible for directly, but also then work with every other person at the top of government to drive execution in all those other critical areas as well. I feel better off in my ability to do that now as a result of the changes.
Mm-hmm. Really cool. High level as well, we saw that the EU AI Act is having some initial signs of rollout. I think the first thing that came about yesterday was it's the labeling of AI content, whether that's on short form or in chatbots, or just making the public aware of the fact that they are engaging with an AI. Our take was essentially around short form video, definitely necessary. There's a huge part of the population, or in Europe as a continent, that probably aren't aware that they're engaging with AI-generated video images. From your perspective, like in the cabinet and from the UK sort of AI strategy perspective, initial thoughts on the EU AI Act like rollout? How are people feeling about it? Do you think it's incredibly necessary right now, given the speed at which the frontier is moving? Would be curious to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I think so first, it's a very wide-ranging thing. There's some things like about labeling, telling what is human and what is AI, which is really important in some areas. And I think in those areas, we're trying to make a lot of similar progress as well. So about labeling task force, trying to understand both what are technical ways in which you can do high-quality labeling, almost automate labeling in a robust way as well, because the volume on videos that you see on Twitter, for example, is such that you can't just kind of have human labeling. And so, yes, the law is important, but technical capability to actually implement that law is really important as well. And so we're trying to get to a place where that works. There are then way broader questions around the security implications of AI models, which has become so salient in the last few weeks. And there, I think we're in a distinct position as a country, because the capability we have in the AI Security Institute gives us way deeper understanding of model risks, such that we're able to move quite flexibly on what is the right way to work on those, to understand them, to mitigate them. Whereas I think, because the picture is changing so much in a couple of important ways, open source, for example, but also agentic security being very different from just model security. It's changing so quickly that point-in-time regulation needs to be able to move very flexibly. And that's why we have taken more time to figure out the right answers rather than jumping to those answers on some of those more agile questions as well. So all of that to say, I think there's some really important lessons to learn from the EU on bits like labeling, where I think we're trying to make similar progress. And in other areas, I think the UK is in an interesting position of understanding the risks so that we can move with the times.
Yeah.
With the and we touched on it, you touched on it a little bit with the breakthrough in mathematics. We've had a lot of conversations today about that, and whether we're in the singularity, how far AGI away we are away from AGI. What's your perspective on how good these models are getting, even on the open weights? That was like the kind of next benchmark where closed models were obviously doing incredible things, but open weights needed to catch up, and now they have. Where do you feel like how does that then inform decisions based on you can see how incredible these models are getting? How does that inform a decision within education or upskilling people within the kind of general workforce of the UK? How does that kind of like distill or kind of like dissolve into the UK government and decisions that you guys are making?
Yeah, I think it's so critical to so many decisions. So let me just describe my sense of what I'm seeing happening empirically, and then what the implications are for government.
Yeah, nice.
Two things really important. One, the capabilities of the closed frontier models in particular, and open quite close behind them, the capabilities are improving at a rate that is not just in line with the fastest expectation, but above the fastest expectation. And that is an astonishing thing, right? Because we thought that a number of our projections, both internally and externally, in terms of valuation bodies like Meta on last horizon length, that those were pretty aggressive expectations that only believers in AI kind of held. And now you're finding in some cases that the models are beating those expectations as well. So that's very significant. The second thing that's happening is separate from saying, are the models getting better and better and quicker in terms of those core tasks on the benchmarks, coding, formally verifiable tasks like mathematics, those are really critical. How generalizable is this quality as well? So are they eking up more and more parts of the world as they get better at doing the core tasks of coding, for example? With maths, I think we've seen a significant leap, but maths is actually in some ways still quite verifiable and similar to coding in lots of attributes. What we, I think, are still untested on is how much of the world it looks like coding and math, and how much of the world looks like art and interpersonal dynamics and hosting past and the banter and wit and intellect that is bundled together in ETN when I come on the show. A bit different to coding and mathematics alone. And on that question, I think one of the things I've anecdotally felt is that there's still a long way to go in building harnesses and all the other attributes that understand organizations, cultures, conversations to be able to automate that in a significant way. So if those two facts are the facts of the world, one, that models in themselves are getting way better than we thought on maths and formally verifiable things, and two, that there are lots of things in the world that are not just formally verifiable, easily automatable, then I think the implications are that, in particular, you asked about education. I think the implication for education is that one, young people in this country need to have some minimal foundation of understanding of AI models.
Of course, yeah.
More and more of the world will be done by AI models. But two, I think the premium on human attributes is increasing because people who can now build exciting content, people who can do interpersonal stuff, people who can be managers of AI models, people who can understand risk, communicate it, build trust, and bring the public with them, those attributes actually remain still very resilient. And so we pay more and more for those attributes. I think in San Francisco, for example, the premium on human coaches has increased over the last few years because people want to pay more for these things that are distinctly human as well. And so for me, the really important question is how can our education system move very quickly so that all of us now increasingly have the foundations of understanding AI models so we can oversee them. But secondly, how do we really prize that which is most still distinct about humans, which is the sort of messy reality of non-verifiable tests?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. I know we are over.
Yeah, do you have a hard stop, or can we ask?
One last question.
I want to ask a question.
Okay. Well, mine's a bit silly though, to be fair. But
well, let me go first. Maybe you can ask the silly one. I wanted to just quickly, because we only touched on OLX a little bit. I wanted to ask about because I've had a lot of people ask me about infrastructure in the UK, AI infrastructure in particular, and building chips that can compete with NVIDIA. I think there's, obviously the FT kind of they almost pitted OLX and NVIDIA against each other. I wanted to ask about, what are you seeing in the progress of AI infrastructure in the UK, and what kind of role OLX plays within that, and how excited that makes you feel for the UK and its infrastructure that's building for AI.
I'm super fired up by this. And the reason is that the Prime Minister now has this big vision that he wants to return manufacturing and reindustrialization.
Yeah.
And I did this conversation with the FT a few days ago where I said I want chips and drones to be really the leading part of it. And people said, this guy's crazy, he doesn't understand chips and manufacturing.
I wasn't going to say it. But
people were like, hey, 25 billion, Britain hasn't got this stuff, like what's he talking about? So here's why I believe this. And some part of it is like credible, and some part of this is, a bit crazy, but that's
you have to be.
The credible part is, one, there are still already parts of the manufacturing parts of the stack. So when you're building a data center, yes, you need the NVIDIA GPUs and you need some CPUs, but you also need power electronics, you need compound semiconductors. There are lots of other bits that are made in the UK. So in South Wales, in Newport, KLA, IQE, these are companies that are building really important things, manufacturing jobs where people who otherwise would have been paid way less in steelworks that were shut are now paid 40-50% more in really high quality technical manufacturing jobs. So that's the first kind of part of it. Growing that sector means more manufacturing jobs in AI in Britain spread across the country. The second part of the stack where I think the opportunity is in companies that have historically been in aspects of chip design, expanding out into testing assembly. When ARM, for example, is doing more vertical integration, not just licensing, but doing more CPU build, how can we capture more of that value in the UK? And as part of that, what I'm really excited that OLX and Fractal and Oriole Networks, there are a range of companies that are saying, what is the next throw of the ball here? And how can we make sure that more and more of the value from that is in the UK, at least on testing and assembly and packaging, some parts of the sort of value chain being in the UK. But then the third kind of slightly crazy bit is for me to say, hey, okay, so we've got good jobs in ancillary compound semiconductors, other stuff. We've got some good jobs in more and more of the sort of labor-intensive bits being done in the UK with Fractal, OLX, and others, and ARM. How can we now actually go a bit further up still and actually create a much more substantive manufacturing operation for AI chips that to me is like, yes, moonshot, yes, a little crazy, but I would love a world in which by the time I'm out of this job, that we have found a way to make that happen as well, because then I'll feel like we did the credible thing that was here and now. We did the thing that Walter at Fractal and James at Olix are dreaming of, and we did that in the UK. And then we added to that a even bigger national dream that a lot of us go around backing as well.
Really cool.
100%.
Really cool.
Great
And
answer.
now I can do my one.
Fun one.
I was going to ask you, Kanishka, when the PM was changing over, there was a lot of talk on the timeline about you and your role, and it became quite clear that you've quite quickly become a bit of a AI Twitter celebrity here in the UK, whether you're aware of it or not. I was just wondering what you have to say to all your fans out there. Everyone was saying that they better not take Kanishka offers. They better not take him away. And you're here, which is great. So yeah, I'm not sure if you have a word for your fans out there on X.
No, I don't want to do this sort of silly thing of saying I'm deeply grateful. Of course, I'm deeply grateful, but the thing I actually recognize is think back to a year ago, right? Like I was doing the previous job. I was appointed just under a year ago. At that time, you guys were very early on. A number of these companies, Walter was early on at Fractal, James was early on at Olix. There were people building frontier models. David Silver hadn't started a company. A bunch of the guys who raised a ton of money, Inherent and others, hadn't started a company at the time. And then trace what's happened for each of us until that now Europe has a premier media platform which has gone and raised money independently to build what you guys are building. Is it a surprise that David has built and raised $1 billion for Ineffable, and alongside that has had folks building chip design companies and raising $250 million?
Yeah.
And is it a surprise that suddenly you're seeing the return of a sense of excitement, optimism, ambition, and people backing each other in online communities as well as offline communities? And I think the thing we'll all feel is that it's not a surprise or a coincidence, but the collective action of all of us who have, I think, all made bets on our careers and our paths, and by being able to do so together, have been able to build something way greater than some of the parts. And so I just feel incredibly grateful and a sense of pretty restless urgency that this continues and grows into something radically bigger and better in the next 12 months.
Hell
Incredible.
yeah. We're locked in, Kanishka.
Yeah,
That's
we're
why.
locked in.
We're all locked in together. All of us here. We're all locked in. We won't take any more of your time, and we've run over. But it's always a pleasure to chat with you. Huge fans, and keep up the amazing work. We'll be here anytime in the future for you.
Hey, thanks so much, guys. You're doing a great job.
Cheers,
Appreciate
Kanishka.
it. We'll see you soon.
See you later, dude. Bye bye.
Let's have a clap for all of us.
Great work.
Those guys working hard over there. There's Sam working hard too.
Kanishka's taking off.
That is the show. Thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate it. We will see you tomorrow for another banger. Ciao.
Ciao.